Did you miss us? Fuck. Did you miss us? Did you miss us? Tim W. Rago here, aka Megalania 2023. How the hell is everybody? And welcome once again to Paleo Files Reviews after a serious hiatus, which will be explained in about 5 seconds. And welcome to Paleo Files Reviews, where we've been stomping through your screen since March. And once again, I am joined by the international nerds.
How's it going, folks? Jurassic World Monsterverse here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another episode review. And like Tim said, we apologize for the hiatus, which will be explained from all of us. So, onwards to the next nerd.
That would be me, Exolia, nerd extraordinaire and creator of my own bullshit, like usual. And well, welcome back to another review of what we like to call Dracula or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Dracula.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. This was supposed to be Jurassic June, but life had seriously gotten in the way. Which we do want to apologize for how overdue this review is. We kept wanting to do it, but you know, when shit gets in the way, it truly I don't know, just shit kept getting in the way, folks, so we do apologize for all of that.
And admittedly as well, I'll take full responsibility for that, because my life, this month has probably been one of the worst months of my life, to be honest. Like, it's just one thing after another, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. So yeah, hopefully it's all over and done with now, and things will get back to how they were, and we can get back to just how everything was. So, yeah, I truly apologize for that, everyone.
So, for this review, you've seen us tackle the first Jurassic Park. Now we move on to the first sequel in this legacy, The Lost World Jurassic Park. Once again, directed by none other than Steven fucking Spielberg, who's probably still one of the best directors in Hollywood here. Also based on the second novel by Michael Crichton. And for those who don't know, you know, it's actually thanks to Spielberg that the second novel even exists in the first place, because Spielberg told Crichton to write the damn book just so he can get a sequel to the first movie. Like, he literally told the dude, he goaded him to write a second book just so he can make a sequel. So the fact that, so basically, unintentionally, the novel is a collaboration. It was Steven Spielberg's pushing him, and Crichton's writing style, which is just like in the first book, except a little more fucked up.
A little?
Yeah, a lot.
I've always found it interesting that Spielberg's persuaded Crichton to write a sequel novel so he could make a sequel film. And I just found that interesting, because like with Steven Spielberg, you know, like, you know how good of a director he truly is.
Exactly.
But, you know, but like with most directors, most of their work is inspired and comes from novelizations. So even though, but again, like most of the time as well, it comes from their mindset, their imagination as well. Like they think of a story, and and when it's done and completed, it's presented on the big screen. I've always wondered why Spielberg, you know, had to resort using Crichton as like I don't know what you call it exactly, but sort of like a backup plan, maybe.
It sounds more like he needed Crichton for the story, and then Spielberg would be the one to translate that story, I guess. Like, he needed Crichton for the story of The Lost World.
Yeah, and I've always wondered that just because, like, you know, with Spielberg, you know, with most movie directors that are rather imaginative, you know, he could have made this film come to life in his own way without any sources from Michael Crichton. So I just find that interesting as to why he sort of pressured him.
But I will say this though: when it comes to sequels, man, this movie is it's so night and day compared to the first movie. Like the first movie was adventurous and somewhat lighthearted. Oh no, this movie's a straight up fucking horror movie. Like this is seriously,
It's easily the darkest film in the franchise.
It is. Like, this movie is pretty serious. This movie is really serious in tone. And Daniel, when you and I were watching this, you know, we were like, so, you know, this movie starts with this British family with this yacht crew on Isla Sorna. Like, did these people not check this island before going there? Did they not check this place before going there? And this little girl just wanders off and gets attacked by compies. And it's so crazy how this movie wastes no time in showing you what movie you're watching. Like, immediately at the start of the movie, dinosaurs. Like, it literally, you just have a bunch of compies attack this little girl at the start of the movie. And it's just like, well, this movie didn't waste no time. Like, oh, hey, you're watching a dinosaur movie. Like, I do love the fact that and the puppet on the first copy that shows up, like, from a far distance, it was CG, but then the close-up, they had, like, a full little puppet of this thing, and not gonna lie, it actually, like, this was back when a lot of dinosaurs were now being colored green, and the copy's just, like, green, light green, with dark green stripes, like, they're just green. Like, there's just so much green on these little guys. And it's actually kind of, in that moment, it's actually a little relatable. You guys have probably had this happen when you're feeding a bunch of birds and the birds are like trying to grab your sandwich or something like that. It kind of reminded me of moments like that.
Man, whenever I'm just trying to have breakfast near the seaside or near a beach or something, out of nowhere comes a flock of like 20, 25 seagulls from just like, it's hell on earth. And like, when you drop just the tiniest crumb, they go into a frenzy.
They do, yeah. And that's what the compies do in this scene. Like, you see the little girl, like, literally throw a chunk of whatever she was eating on the ground, and you see, like, half the compies just start swarming whatever little piece of food that was. Yeah. And then it's, like, off-screen, she gets attacked, and then all of a sudden it just cuts to an attack scene, like this intense attack scene, to suddenly Ian Malcolm in a subway station. Like, the transition was just like... Before we continue, I do think we should talk about novel comparisons just for a brief moment. So, the starting scene that we see in The Lost World Jurassic Park was pretty much like the opening scene for the original Jurassic Park novel. It was, yeah. That was the original, like, little... That was the... You know what's kind of interesting? That the sequels in the Jurassic Park trilogy
pay just a slight more homage to the novel than the original film did. Have you noticed that?
Like it borrows more, like the sequels take just
borrows
a couple more
elements from the book.
Yeah, they take a couple of little bits from the books here and there. Like they take a little bits of little snippets. And one novel comparison.
And even with Jurassic Park 3, which has no Crichton source material whatsoever, that movie just came to be as its own.
It did,
but still, you know, I really should be talking about this for Jurassic Park 3, but because this is Jurassic Park trilogy, fuck it, why not?
Damn.
The Pteranodon Avery attack scene, even though there were no Pteranodons in the Jurassic Park novel, there were pterosaurs, and there was a very similar, almost exact similar sort of scene in the book. So, I mean, there is some Michael Crichton source material down away.
Yeah, exactly. And one novel comparison that I'm actually really happy that was not put in this movie was in the Lost World in the novel. Ian Malcolm walks with a cane, and I'm really happy in the movie he doesn't do that.
Oh, thank God! I thought you were gonna say something else. I was like, nah, please don't put it out there. Please don't.
Like, I'm actually really happy that Ian Malcolm does not walk with a freaking cane like he does in the novel. But I will say this though, I just love like how the novel it starts off with Ian Malcolm doing this university speech, and then in the movie, it's Ian Malcolm on a subway train. Like, it's just Ian Malcolm on a subway train, and he's just like... And Daniel, I asked you this when we were watching it, didn't it kind of feel off seeing, like, people in a city kind of thing, you know, since you're dealing with a movie that deals with dinosaurs? Didn't it kind of feel weird seeing, like, human society in this movie? Like, didn't it kind of feel weird seeing that a little bit?
Not really, since they've always been a part of it. I mean, dinosaurs in these movies have always been like the quote-unquote monsters, so yeah. I mean, you gotta have it in a monster for some reason.
Oh, and also, rest in peace to actor, what do you call it? Richard Attenborough, yeah. Because once again, he plays John Hammond again, like he did in the first movie. And Richard Attenborough, he passed away after this movie came out, like in late '97 or some shit. I thought it was in like '97 or '98 he died. No, he died right after, like a little after this movie.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
No, Richard Attenborough didn't. The character of John Hammond did, but Richard Attenborough didn't.
Yeah, he did. He died like a little bit after this movie came out. Like
he died in 2014.
Richard? No.
Yeah.
There's no way. Really?
Yes, he did.
No, but it's just like, it's just so crazy, and you actually feel so sorry. It's like, if you didn't feel sorry for John Hammond enough in the first movie, this second movie here makes you feel worse, because, you know, here he is not really in a hospital bed, since he's in his own mansion, really. But he's got like an IV in him, and he's got like a water bag next to him, and you can tell he's like, the poor man's on his last throes here. Like, you can tell this dude is like, he's slowly going. And they do
Sorry, what was that? His last what?
His last throws. The poor guy's literally almost going. John Hammond, yeah.
I would have said his last legs, because that makes more sense. I have no idea what you just.
But it's so sad that the dude's slowly going, and then we see the kid. Then we see the kids from the first movie make like this little cameo appearance. They make this one little appearance, and then we're introduced to the one character in this movie that I hate with a fucking passion, Peter Ludlow.
Hold on, I think before we move on. Before we go into characters, I really think we should talk more about the direction and the tone of the movie. Unless we've covered most of that already, but I really think we should talk more about that first.
Is it me, or does the tone kind of switch at a couple places? Like, it's like the opening is like a horror movie, and then it goes to like a little bit of like drama, and then back to scary at one point. The tone kind of like switches, not like the tone switching is annoying, but the tone just switches at certain points in the movie. Like, there's some points where it just switches, which is kind of weird.
Like, it doesn't really know what exactly it wants to be.
Yeah, is it trying to be scary? Is it trying to be adventurous?
That's true, actually. Like, but the one thing that I do love about this movie when it comes to, I would say maybe the lighting and how the dinosaurs are presented, because they're presented far more monstrous and menacing and intimidating than they were in the original Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we'll get to the good shit with that here in a bit when it comes to how these things are presented. I'm not too sure if lighting is the right word for it, but I want to use that word because for the majority of the time in the movie, the dinosaurs are shown in like shadowy, blacklit sort of like places. Very dim
where you
lighting.
Can't really see.
Like they're in really dim, they're very dimly lit.
You can't really make them out until at the last minute, and then it just turns into this all-out, intense, suspenseful moment. And personally, I love that aspect of the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it adds to the tone of the movie because a lot of the time this movie's very serious in tone, pretty much all the way through. And the dim lighting adds to that.
Yeah. I was going to say as well, because like you said earlier, Jurassic Park is more brightly, it's vibrant and colourful, but here it's more dimly lit and horror movie-like.
Very much so. And one thing that helps the pacing, I don't know if it would help the pacing, but I just love the fact like they use the on-location shooting, kind of adds it like a creepy like creature in the woods. I don't know if it kind of does like this weird creature like monster in the woods kind of feel, because they filmed in the California redwoods, which is awesome. Which is fun fact: episode 2 of Walking with Dinosaurs was filmed in the California redwoods. Time of the Titans. It was filmed in it was filmed in that area. It was filmed.
I mean, I know with most scenes in Walking with Dinosaurs, they were filmed in my home state of Queensland and in different parts of Australia as well, and in New Zealand as well. So
the forest.
That actually makes more sense. Come to think of it,
exactly. And I just love the fact that that the location does help this movie's tone, because, like I said a little bit ago, it has this monster of the woods kind of thing, which really like kind of adds a little bit of the scare factor. It's basically like not on slasher movie level, but very like just creature of the woods type, like creature scary thing in the woods type deal. And then when it also comes with the tone, then a lot of like some of the sets kind of do that as well. Like some of the sets kind of add this this darker tone, especially a scene like way later on. The set that was built kind of has this old abandoned feel to it, with with not the visitor center, like the operations center on the second island here. The operations center, like everything's all broken, everything's all shattered, everything's covered in vines and dirt.
Like run down and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. The rundown feeling kind of makes that a little terrifying. And then also, when it comes to the pacing of this movie, like this movie was, I think, the first movie was like 2 hours and 3 minutes, and this one's like 2 hours and 7 minutes.
They're both similar in duration. They have a equal duration, but this movie is just several minutes longer. But even though like both movies have an almost exact same runtime, actually, I'll let you talk about this for a little, Tim, before I have any say in it.
You know, when it comes to the runtime of this movie, there's like some scenes, You know, you always sit there and you wonder when you're watching any movie like this, you wonder, why is that scene in this movie? Like, there's some scenes I think, like, don't even need to be there. Like, they probably could have cut, I guess, maybe...
Those are called... Those scenes like that, they're actually called exposition dumps.
Either that or just filler. Either that or just filler. Either that or sometimes it's just like filler scenes. Yeah. And when you have scenes like that, I think it's like they could have easily chopped this movie down to like 2 hours. Not even 2 hours. Maybe 2 hours and 5 minutes. Like they could have cut maybe 2 minutes, like 2 minutes out of this movie.
I absolutely, fully agree on, because I tell you what, I couldn't agree more with you on that. I'll tell you why. Because they do these filler scenes or exposition dumps, whatever you want to call them. They interrupt the pacing of the film.
They do, yeah. Especially one scene in particular where I don't know why this scene was filmed in the first place. Like a little bit ago, I was mentioning the character of Peter Ludlow. His original introduction, and for those of you who have watched this movie, probably know like the TV version, which actually includes 2 deleted scenes in here. I don't know why it's never on the damn DVD release. That's annoying as fuck. But the original introduction for Peter Ludlow was it's him in this generic as hell boardroom with all these executives and shit all around him, and Peter Ludlow is all saying like, hey, a British yacht crew stumbled on Site B, and then that's when John Hammond says that the board has used the incident to take control of InGen from him. That's the scene that did that. So the fact that that was cut is kind of like, okay, that still needed to be there. Like there's like 3 bits out of this movie that were cut, and they could have helped the movie a little more, especially when it comes to characters, especially when it comes to like characterization. But it's like this movie's kind of like, yeah, there's scenes that should have stayed and scenes that should have went, is kind of thing. Like that's what this movie's a mix. That's what this movie's a mix of. And honestly, oh yeah, sorry, Daniel, we were talking a bunch. I apologize. Right, what was it? Had a little odd technical little like for a second. Anyways. Anyway, back to the good shit here. So what do you call? We talked about like the direction, the pacing, and James, you said you wanted to bring up the writing. Now, the writing, like the pacing, is everywhere.
Well, yeah. Before we get into the writing, though, I just want to say like a final thing about the pacing itself. So, you and I, before we had that little technical interruption, and speaking of interruptions, the exposition dumps or the fillers, yeah, they just interrupt the flow of the movie, and it causes the pacing of the movie to somewhat drag. It drags the movie in a way, if you know what I mean.
That's what a lot of those scenes do, and there's very rare occasions where sometimes
Sorry about that.
We interrupt this to bring you a advertisement from PetSmart. Hey, we're talking about animals. Hey, we're talking about animals after all, so we have animals joining the review.
Well, true, yeah.
But
let's keep talking over it. We'll get.
But one thing is like when you were mentioning like the writing, like the tone of this movie, it's everywhere. The writing goes from serious to it's just weird. Some of the writing in this movie is just flat out. I like the dialogue in this movie, don't get me wrong. I love the dialogue with some of the characters, but there's just some points of it where, especially there's one scene where the movie's very self-aware. It's with the writing. The movie's extremely self-aware with one little tidbit with one character that makes no sense at all, but it's a 90s movie, so people didn't really give too much of a shit back then. But
like the writing for me in this film is the only thing that I have like a
issue.
Like, well, more of a complaint, really, but it's the only negative downside for me of this movie, because David Koller, who was the screenwriter for the original Jurassic Park film, he comes back to return with the same role for this film. But the script this time, it just doesn't feel
right.
Smoothed out, smoothened out, if you know what I mean.
Like it needed a couple of rewrites before it felt good.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple of bits it needed redoing.
Yeah, and it was like that with Jurassic Park 3 as well. Man, the amount of times a script was thrown out, like week after week, month after month, with that fucking film. Yeah. Like, Jesus.
When we talk about Jurassic Park 3, man.
We're gonna go without on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird.
What's that?
It's gonna be weird when we get there.
Yeah, it is gonna be weird.
It is gonna be a weird review.
But I will say with the writing, something that in my opinion, is a very weak aspect of this film. When it comes to the writing, it would have to be the characters making the stupidest fucking decisions. Like, just for the sake of whenever we see action sequences with the dinosaurs.
You know, there's only one scene in this movie involving dinosaurs that I think is the dumbest fucking thing in here. Like, there's only one scene that we'll get to in a little while, that I really think is the dumbest thing in this entire franchise. Or no, the first dumbest thing in this entire franchise here. When you talk about making a stupid decision. When you talk about making stupid decisions here. Yeah, and also, James, you said this movie's tone's like a horror movie, and when you're in a horror movie, in the words of a Geico commercial, when you're in a horror movie, you make dumb decisions. It's what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the amount of times I've seen memes of, like, you know, like, of slasher movies like Friday the 13th and Halloween, you know, like, there's like memes out there of like women just falling over for no reason, and then Jason.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot.
They just tilt their head in confusion, like, bitch, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, they do. They always do. But now, when it comes to,
they do that. I think you do see them do that in the film a lot as well. I wonder if that's improvised, or if the actors in the costumes are like, is he meant to be doing it?
Yeah, it's like, are they supposed to, like, it was improvised or just accidentally happened, and they're like, and they just left it in the movie. But when it comes to, like, but anyways, when it comes to the writing, I always think, like, I don't know, like, what do you call, like, the writing always helps with characterization, and when it comes to the characters of this movie, it's like, there's a few of them that are actually likable. Like, there's a few, and I mean a few characters in this movie that you actually give a damn about. Like, there's very few in this movie you actually care about and root for here.
And easily the best of them is Jeff Goldblum with Ian Malcolm. He is the... Like, I can't praise him enough for his role in this film, because...
Like, he's the quintessential, like, Jurassic Park character in this movie. Like, he's the quintessential, like, returning cast member. And once again, like in the first movie, he comes in sporting a leather jacket like he did in the first movie. Like, he goes with the whole dressed in black. I always think his character is kind of odd because it's just like, you know, he's a mathematician and dressed like he belongs in a metal band. And he's a mathematician, he's a scientist. I always just think that's kind of odd. Like, that is the weird, like, quirk of his, is that he's a mathematician. He's so, like, thinks with his brain the whole time, and yet he dresses like he's in a band. Like, he always dresses in, like, leather and shit.
I've always thought he was just, like, this goth-looking scientist. You know how some teens go through the phase and they grow their hair long and they have piercings and big leather jackets,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like one of those like an emo goth scientist sort of guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Ian Malcolm dresses like in this movie, and he does it again. He kind of
acts like that as well with his manner of speaking.
Oh, especially the opening when he's on the subway train and he's just sitting there. He just gets on the train and he's just sitting there trying to, just head over to John Hammond's, and this random dude shows up, this random ass bystander, just randomly goes up and starts talking to him, and Ian Malcolm just looking at him like, excuse me? Like, he's looking at him like, get away. Like, you can tell the look on his face. He's like, get away from me, dude. Just get away from me before I punch you in the face. It's like, Ian Malcolm just does not like people. He really is not a people person. He's really not a people person, it seems like. He does not like people at all.
That's exactly why he's my favourite character in the franchise. He's an introvert, I'm an introvert. We get along.
Yeah, exactly.
If he was a real character.
And then when it comes to, then, like I mentioned a little bit ago, when he gets to John Hammond's literal mansion, I mean, they don't really show much of the house, but you can tell it's a freaking mansion. And then we see Peter Ludlow again, and I swear to God, every time this guy opens his mouth, I want to slap the shit out of him. Like, I hate...
Yeah, so do I.
And the fact that he's John Hammond's nephew, like, that's the worst part, is that the fact that he's related to John Hammond is what makes it worse. Like, the fact that his nephew took over the company from him, from his uncle, you talk about a dick move. You talk about a dick move. Like, that's a huge dick move. Like, oh, take over the... Oh, and it's kind of bitchy when you think about it. It's like the young person bitch move where it's like, oh, there was an incident, one incident involving these things on an island. Oh, I'm gonna take control of the whole fucking company from the founder just because of that. Like, it's such a bitch move on Peter Ludlow. It's like, oh my God. Like, it's so ridiculous how... When it comes to creature films...
Well, he is. You say it's a bitch move. Well, that's not much of a shocker, really, as he is a little bitch.
He is a little bitch, and especially the one line that solidified it. You talk about the writing. The one line that solidified him as a complete bitch was when after that argument that he and Ian Malcolm started having about what happened after everybody got back onto the mainland after the first movie, and what happened with the press and everything like that. And Peter Ludlow is basically making Ian Malcolm look like a lying prick. He makes Ian Malcolm look like a lying prick, and then at the end of said argument, Ian Malcolm, he grabs his suit, and then here's the bitchiest line I've ever heard in this movie. Ludlow goes, "Be careful, this suit costs more than your education." It's a suit! It probably only costs like maybe $400. Give me a break. Like, the minute he said that, it's like, you little punk-ass motherfucker. Oh my God, that line, like, doesn't it always suck in any creature film or horror film how there's always that one character that's written to be an obvious asshole? Like, you can't just have the asshole be revealed as the movie goes along. Throughout the pacing of the movie, you find out how much that one character is a prick. No, right off the bat, asshole. Like, seriously, right off the bat, and they say asshole. And then you do the whole bit with...
But if we're going...
Yeah.
Yeah, look, actually, let's move on. Let's move on to the characters now, because we're pretty much talking about them already, so...
Yeah, and when it comes to... Do you ever think, like, John Hammond could have, like... What do you call... should there have been, like...
I mean, with the... Hold on, before you say anything else, I just want to say, something that I'm very mixed about this film, in regards to this film, is the characters themselves, because there's many mixed and negative aspects about them that can't be ignored, and that's what we're going to be ranting a little about here. The biggest problem that I am mixed on is the characters. Like, they range from forgettable to just downright idiotic, moronic, and just...
Why are you here?
Outright retarded.
Yeah, that's why I said a little bit ago, like, there's only very few characters you actually give a shit about in this movie, and I mean very few. Like, there's very few, and the cast of this movie is huge. Like, the cast of this movie is, like, significantly larger than the first movie. Like, there's a lot of extras in this. And when we're introduced to the other characters after Ian Malcolm, like John Hammond, he mentions he mentions the yacht incident, he mentions the yacht crew incident, and then he tells Malcolm, like, oh, I'm sending a team out there to, just to show everybody that these animals are just being animals, like they're not posing a threat, they're just being animals. And Ian Malcolm, being his normal self, I call it, literally is telling John Hammond, no, you're making all new mistakes, and so you have another island with dinosaurs on it, and you're going to send people in there. Like, he's really trying to point out, like, you talk about people making stupid decisions in this movie, like, Malcolm really tries to make John Hammond look stupid. I don't know why, like, he really tries to make John Hammond look like a moron when he's telling him, like, there's an expedition being sent to the island. Oh, so you're going to send more people in on a dinosaur-infested island?
I've just realised that's sort of like a trend in this movie. Like, Ian Malcolm is trying his best to make John Hammond look like a moron. Peter Ludlow is doing his best to make Ian Malcolm look like a moron.
Yeah, like, it's a whole battle of, like, ideologies in this movie. Like, it's a whole battle of, like, ideologies about dinosaurs, but it's done in such a way where it's like, you can either be for some people, or you want to slap the shit out of other people.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we get to...
But you were saying earlier that there's several characters in this film that you're backing for. My three main characters who don't get enough praise as they deserve, besides from Ian Malcolm, would have to be, of course, Roland Tembo, played by Peter Whittle, the ultimate badass character of the Jurassic franchise.
Basically Daniel, if he were in the Jurassic Park universe. He's basically Daniel. Honestly, I'd say Roland Tembo. He's better than Muldoon. I think Roland Tembo is he's better than Muldoon, actually.
I was going to say, he's probably more of a badass than Muldoon was. And the other two characters are personal favourites of mine in this film, who are highly underrated, is Eddie Carr and Nick Van Owen.
Oh, those two. Vince Vaughn in a Jurassic Park movie. Like, Vince Vaughn is known for doing, like, stupid comedies, but seeing him in this movie... It was very interesting, and especially the fact that his character is for Greenpeace. Like, he's a Greenpeace... Yeah. He's a Greenpeace professional. He's a Greenpeace photographer.
Do you remember, like, that scene where, like, him, Sarah, and Ian were Malcolm, and Malcolm were rescued by the other characters, and, like, Nick and I think, what was his name again? The guy that got killed by the compies? Stark.
Yeah, Stark. Yeah.
He and Stark were about to have a fight. And then Roland Tembo comes in and he goes to Nick Van Owen, I know you. You're that Earth bastard.
Exactly. So when it comes to some of the characters, the other character that, and again, when it comes to creature films,
I gotta say as well, in regards to Vince Vaughn in a Jurassic franchise movie, so you would think because with all the other movies he's been in, it wouldn't work quite well in the movie's favour, but oddly enough, it does. In the same sort of way how Jack Black was excellent as Carl Denham in Peter Jackson's King Kong, and that's what I like to compare it to.
Yeah, that's it. It's weird casting, but the character is played well, where you can roll with it. It's kind of thing, like weird casting, but you can go along with it. And then we cut to something Daniel did when one of the most memorable things out of this movie is the vehicles. Is the trio of Mercedes in this movie? You have a trailer that Daniel straight up said when we were watching it. He just straight up said, "Dibs on the trailer, dibs on the freaking trailer." Like, dibs on the trailer. I mean, the vehicles are just awesome. Like, even though they're like 1990s Mercedes, the vehicles look awesome. Like, the way they're built feels so like, yeah, this is a safari vehicle. Like, even though the brand is a luxury car brand, the way they're designed it's definitely a safari vehicle. Like, it's a weird brand, but at the same time, it works. At the same time, it definitely works. And then at the same time, during this whole, like... Oh, and Ian Malcolm kind of has this... I will call this a bitch moment, but it's funny because it's Ian Malcolm, where he complains to Eddie Carr about the satellite phone not working. Like, it's a gag that happens throughout through half this movie, where Malcolm is bitching about the satellite phone not working. And Eddie Carr's trying to tell him, like, dude, you have to be nice to it.
Speaking of Eddie Carr, man, that character, he didn't deserve to go out the way he did. He truly did.
We will get to that bit in a little bit when it comes to Eddie Carr. Man, we will get to how he... Because even Daniel and I, when we were watching it, we were like, oh, shit, like it's a very... Oh, God, no. It's kind of like that one where you're saying no to your screen the whole time, and when you see it, your eyes are wide as fuck.
Regarding his death scene, I've seen a lot of comments about that death saying how cute it is at the same time.
Yeah.
No, because, in a way, it's sort of like that scene. I can't remember what this movie was called, but it's from an old Disney movie where these two dogs
Lady and the Tramp. It's very reminiscent of Lady and the Tramp.
Like that.
It's like a dinosaur Lady and the Tramp.
And I've seen comments regarding Eddie Carr's death. I'm like, oh, look at them.
Move over, Lady and the Tramp. Move over, Lady and the Tramp. Here comes Buck and Doe.
Yeah.
But no, but when it comes to Roland Tembo, there's again another deleted scene that's in the TV version, but it's not on the DVD release, where Roland Tembo's introduction has probably it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Where it shows his bar in South Africa, I believe it was, and it's Roland Tembo and his buddy RJ, who honestly is a very underrated character. Like, they show RJ as like his best friend and shit, and they show Roland Tembo as like he is willing to help people because in that scene there's like one of the employees is getting fucked with by some American tourists, and they start fucking with her, and Roland Tembo beats the shit out of the dude that started it. He goes up and he beats the shit out of the guy helping out the bar employee. And then RJ tells him, hey, because since Roland Tembo's a big game hunter, RJ was like, I got a big juicy scoop for you kind of thing. I got a good hunting opportunity. And there's a line Roland says where he goes, you take one look at my trophy room at my estate and you tell me what do you possibly think could bring up a challenge for me? Like, that line adds so much to his character. And then when you watch the cut that we all watched, the way he shows up is just like he's just there. Like, the way he shows up, just shows up out of like pure random. Because it's like you have Ian. Well, before we get to that, before we get to where the movie picks up more, we're introduced to a character that, you know, when it comes to creature films, child characters are very hit or miss, and this one is one of the ones that's a miss, because we're introduced to Kelly Malcolm. I don't know who plays her for the life of me, but nor do
I really care, for that matter.
Yeah, what did you think of her character, Daniel? Like, because she just runs up, and they do, isn't it like the typical father-daughter thing, or they try to do that, I guess, with this movie?
I don't even know why she was there. I think it was just there to please the kids, but even when I was a kid when this movie came out, and well, I found her character pointless. Like, why are you even here?
Yeah, exactly. That, like, I do fully, especially the bit where, what do you call, and I did mention a little bit ago how the movie's very self-aware because Ian Malcolm does this very bad parental advice where he goes, you want some parental advice? Just don't listen to me. Don't listen. So she sneaks aboard. She does this stowaway thing and sneaks aboard this whole mess. and ropes herself into this for God knows why. And then the movie becomes very self-aware because Kelly Malcolm is a black girl, and it's so crazy how she's Ian Malcolm's daughter, and I love how Nick Van Owen and Eddie Carr were looking at each other and like, do you see any family resemblance here? Like, the movie's self-aware how that didn't make sense. The movie was very self-aware at that, and Eddie Carr just kind of has this moment where he just like, a little bit, where he kind of just like, nah. He kind of has this little moment where he's just like, nah, maybe. Like, it's just like that little moment in the movie is kind of like, that little bit was kind of funny. Like, I like movies that are self-aware with the gag, with their gags. I like when movies do that where it's like, where it's for the audience sake, where it's like, yeah, you know it's stupid, but it's in here, deal with it. Like, you know the gag is stupid and corny, but...
Am I the only one who didn't have a problem with that?
I love that, actually. Like, I honestly... Wait, didn't have a problem with what? I apologize.
Yep.
Well, another character... Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry if this sounds a bit off, but why did she have it being black matter? I mean, so?
I mean, it did not matter. It didn't matter, but I just love, like, how the movie kind of was self-aware and it pointed that out when Nick Van Owen says, like, do you see any family resemblance here? Like, that one line kind of, like, made the movie know it didn't make sense. Like, it kind of was... I just like the little stupid self-aware gag that the movie had for, like, 5 seconds.
I'm not really going to say anything about that because even though it's somewhat relevant to the movie, it just seems irrelevant to me, so...
Oh yeah, like how it was irrelevant how I pointed out the ketchup and hot sauce from part 1 of Carmel 5.
Yeah, again, it's that all over again.
Pretty much. But I just had to make fun of it. And then all of a sudden, you see, like, Peter Ludlow sends his own expedition to Isla Sorna here, and it is... Like, and Daniel, you pointed out, like, a couple of things about how, like, they carried some of the Jeeps with the choppers, like, with the helicopters.
Yeah, that's just idiotic. Like, why in the flying beep would you use that long cables to carry Jeeps with a freaking, I forgot the name of that helicopter, but they're literally designed to carry that shit. And if from what I care, they carry it from land. Why use a Chinook helicopter when you can just use a freaking Hercules plane that are literally built for this shit? But no, you have to pull them like a freaking almost a kilometer-long line below the helicopter for some stupid reason. I mean, how? Why? There's so much. Okay, the guy who made the logistics for that needs to be shot.
Damn. I can't.
Oh, one character we haven't gone through yet. I think we've gone through pretty much everyone already.
Well,
that's the main character.
Sarah Harding. We didn't go through her yet.
Sarah Harding.
With her, you said you didn't like her, James, but I kind of do because she's kind of like she tries to be like a female Alan Grant kind of thing, where she actually studies the dinosaurs. You know, she tries to be...
That is such an oddball comparison, man. Like, why not just say she's another version of Ellie Sattler? Because I've always thought she was pretty much that, but...
Well, Ellie Sattler is a botanist dealing with plants. Sarah Harding's a paleontologist like Alan Grant is, so... That's where the comparison comes in.
Yeah, at least, but, like... Meh. Anyway, you were saying?
But it's so crazy, though, like, when it comes to, when it's just so... I just love, like, the... I don't know if the chemistry is, like, forced between, Sarah Harding and Ian Malcolm. Now, Sarah Harding's all like, no, I'm fine with being on this island. As you can see, I am perfectly fine. I've been here God knows how long studying these animals. I'm fine. You're just paranoid. And Ian Malcolm is all like, no, you'll be back in 5 or 6 pieces, trying to make it seem like she's going to frickin' die. Like, if Ian Malcolm wasn't a dick in the first movie, he's an asshole. He's a complete asshole in this one. it's like,
but you can understand his concern, though. I mean, come
but
on,
it's just like, dude, did he really have to, like, when Sarah Harding goes, I'll be back in 5 or 6 days. No, you'll be back in 5 or 6 pieces. Like, did he really have to make it that dark? Like, did he really have to go to that extent? Like, did he have to go to that fucking extent?
Well, to picture his point of view, I mean, she has what, photographed lions, tigers, elephants, that sort of thing. Yeah, sure. They can maybe attack a human. I mean, maybe there's a chance. But then it goes to dinosaurs, and last time they were in, people got ripped in half. I mean, so he's still traumatized from that. So of course he's a bit worried. I mean, the last time he was in contact with it, people died left and right.
Yeah, but yeah, 3 people, as the movie solely pointed out, like 3 people died in that first incident. But I just love, like, Eddie Carr's reaction to seeing the vehicle being carried by a chopper. Daniel's rant is forever implanted on the Jurassic Park reviews. Is the people who thought of that idea need to be shot. The people who thought about carrying a Jeep with a wire on a helicopter need to be shot.
Yeah, especially one wire that long. I mean, the pendulum effect from the window, that's a... I can go on for hours somehow.
James, it was really fucking with his brain while we were watching this movie. It was, like, literally, he acted all Carnosaur 2 on that one scene. Like, he literally was going nut, like, 2 minutes of, oh my god, this is driving me up a wall at seeing that. But I just love Eddie Carr's reaction. Like, I don't get it. Why would Hammond send 2 teams? Like, you could see how utterly confused he is. Where it's just like, wait a minute, Hammond sent us, but who the hell are these people? And then we go to, like, probably one highlight of this movie is the game trail scene, which introduces a couple more dinosaurs. You got Parasaurolophus again returning, but this time it's used a little more instead of just like a little herd by the lake thing like it was in the first movie. But
like we're in the background, they're pretty much just silhouettes and you can't really make them out.
Exactly.
You can see,
and now in this
here
movie,
we get to see them properly. So.
And I just love the fact, though, how and this is where Roland Temble's introduction in this cut happens. Like, you just see Peter Ludlow, again with the stupid decisions, like you guys were saying in this movie. It's like, I want, Ludlow's just like I want base camp up and running in 30 minutes. All of a sudden, boom, here's Roland Tembo. Like, he just shows up pushing this. Daniel, what do you call those things? Like that netting thing? Is there like is there a name for that, or is it just a net? Like,
which one are you thinking about?
No, the one where in the very beginning of the game trail scene when Peter Ludlow was telling everybody that he wanted base camp up and running in that area, and then all of a sudden there's like a net between him and Roland Temple just pushes that thing down and just goes, cancel that order. And Peter Ludlow...
Yeah, it's called a camouflage net.
Okay, and...
Basically a vegetation in form of a blanket.
Yeah, he pushes that down, and then all of a sudden, out comes Roland Tembo. Like, he just shows up out of nowhere. And I think Roland Tembo was pretty much like the outdoorsy version of Ian Malcolm, where he explains what being outdoors, like the smart way of being outdoors kind of thing. Like, he was... Like, when he tells Peter Ludlow, like, this is a game trail, Ludlow. Carnivores hunt on game trails. And I love when he says, do you want to set up base camp or a buffet? Like, I love his logic when he says this. And then we straight up said it's like that Roland Tembo's just there to hunt a Rex. Like, he's just there to hunt a male T-Rex. Like, that's all he's there for. It's like James, I mentioned this to both you guys. It's so funny. The actor who plays Roland Tembo, Pete Postlethwaite, his acting ability is so... I praise the dude for his acting ability, because just a year before this movie, like, this movie came out in 1997, a year before this, he was in Dragonheart, and in Dragonheart he plays this goofy, poetic, comic relief priest. And in this movie, he plays a badass. Like, his acting ability, I praise this guy's acting for this. Like, he can go from being absolutely funny to being absolutely serious. Like, I just love the switch. When you watch both these movies back to back, as I've done several times, it's so funny to see how his acting style. Like, when he gets into character, he really does get into whatever character he's given. And that just makes the movie, that really works in the movie's favor, to be perfectly honest with you. But I just love that he couldn't pronounce the dinosaurs' names. He couldn't pronounce any of the names. He called it Parasaurolophus. He literally, he's called it a, what is it? He said Elvis. He called one Elvis at one point. And then... I
never understood that. Like, why'd he call it that? I don't get it. I really don't get it.
And then for some reason he called, and we're introduced to a new dinosaur in this movie, the Pachycephalosaurus, which everyone knows is the dome head, I'm gonna ram the shit out of you if you piss me off, dinosaur. And what's so crazy though, and yes guys, you know I have to do this when it comes to dinosaur movies, is the inaccuracies. That thing... The size they made it in this movie, the size they made a Packy in this movie is, like, that's a baby. Like, that thing is like juvenile size, when in real life that animal was, what, like 9 feet tall, 10 feet high? Oh, shoot. What's going on? Oh.
You froze.
I'm frozen?
You froze for like a minute or so.
You know that's our signal, right?
Yeah.
Once again, we have a little, like, just a little glitch. Anyways, as I was trying to say here, okay.
It's not our night tonight, folks.
But hey, the thing is with these reviews, feel free to have a good laugh, because the thing is about these reviews is we have fun while we're doing these. So when shit happens. So. Anyways, I was saying, like, just like how Dude Meister had his little machine rant, there's a little rant that I have here when it comes to dinosaur films, especially, like, when we're introduced to Pachycephalosaurus in The Lost World, and in real life, this thing was, like, between 9 or 10 feet tall, and in this movie, it's a midget. It's a literal little midget Packy. It's this little midget thing, and I just love the one paleontologist character, Marty, who is telling the dude who's telling the guy about how a like the anatomy of a Pachycephalosaur, and he's telling him about, him about the dome. It was like the Packy overheard him, like, oh, let me give you a demonstration. Yeah, he did. He was saying how, like, the neck lines up with the backbone, which is perfect for absorbing impact. And as he's explaining this, you look directly in front of him, there's a guy opening the door to this Jeep, and he's watching it happen. And as soon as Marty says absorbing impact, right when those two words come out of his mouth, this Packy just... right in the door. Like, he just literally rams into the freaking door, man. Again, the movie is knowing it's funny. Like, the movie knows it's ridiculous. Like, this movie, it's another ridiculous little scene where it's like, oh, like James said, oh yeah, the Packy's like, oh, you want a demonstration? And it just rams into the...
It definitely overheard him. It
had to, because the way that had to have been like.
I must say as well, like in regards to that, it's a good thing the guy that got struck by the Packy closed the car door in time before he got slammed.
Oh
because if he got struck, like especially where your gut is, you're gonna die of internal bleeding.
Oh, he would have died. Yeah, he would have died right on the spot from that. But and then the Packy looks at him.
It would have crushed bones, pretty much. Like the amount of force.
Yeah, because Pachycephalosaurus' head is actually like the name implies, thick-headed lizard. Like the name holds true. And Roland Tembo calls this thing Friar. He calls it Friar.
Sorry.
It's just like how Roland Tembo called the Parasaurolophus when he called it Elvis. He calls the Packy, he calls it Friar Tuck for some reason. Like, he's naming these things after, like, celebrities. I don't know. He can't... pronounce these names. Like, he's trying to pronounce the Packy's name, and then he goes, fathead with the bald spot, the Friar Tuck. He keeps calling it Friar Tuck for some reason. Like, he calls the para Elvis, and he calls the Packy Friar Tuck. I don't know. Why did that feel like that he literally forgot his lines, and he just said, fuck it, I'll make something up? Like, it felt improvised. Like, him doing that felt a little improvised.
You know, it would have been funnier if, like, somehow, like, Peter Puxelwhistle couldn't really pronounce the names properly, so he just improvised and came up with the nicknames himself.
I'm pretty sure he had to have. Wait, what'd you say, dude? Wait, what'd you say, dude?
I think he did.
He had to.
I think he did.
He had to have made those. That had to have been improvised. Those had to have been, like, straight up improvised. Oh, and then there's the little moment where you have a guy, this random dude on a motorcycle, who rides between the legs of a sauropod. We get another sauropod, Mamenchosaurus. And
that dinosaur is easily the most underrated dinosaur in the franchise.
It is, because we only see it one time.
Nothing can top. Like, underrated is an understatement.
It's very that is an understatement. Like, we only see it in this one scene, and the dude rides under it between its legs. Like, this guy rides a motorcycle, this random dude rides a motorcycle directly under a sauropod. Now, how many people can say, I just rode a sauropod, I just rode under a dinosaur? Like, how many people can say that? Like, I just rode a motorcycle under a dinosaur.
My question is, would either of you two be ballsy enough to do that?
I so would. Yeah. Fuck yes. I would so do that. I would literally... I would have a GoPro making sure I captured that shit. I would make sure I would have a GoPro on the helmet and just show me riding under a sauropod. Like, and I love how the Mamenchosaur was just like, didn't even notice he was there. Like, its head is so far up.
Either that, or it's the most carefree animal in the franchise and just couldn't give less of a fuck.
Yeah.
You know what? It's probably so used to having small dinosaurs, like, just going underneath it all the time, just going underneath it. They probably thought the guy on the bike was a small dinosaur of some kind, so... And it
probably just didn't care. Like, it just did...
Yeah. Probably used to it.
And then we're introduced to, like, this movie, for some odd reason, likes to show... not forget, but it's like, there's animal abuse, and then there's dinosaur abuse. And this movie just had a whole thing with, like, the Packy being not only tranquilized, but having the metal wire leash around its neck twice, and then these giant pads come out and to restrain the thing, which looked depressing. Like, that poor thing getting stuck between those pads, whatever that was. That was cruel looking enough. And then you have this one parasaur Rolfus that gets tranquilized, and you see all these guys are trying to restrain it. And during that scene, Daniel, you made a joke where when the para gets all the way up on its hind legs, and you see these three guys just get yeeted into the air, like these three guys just like get flung into the air for a hot minute. But like, I know it's stupid to say this, but what if that was all three of us? Like, what if that was our goofy moment in this movie, where all three of us were the three guys that got flung by a para, by the freaking...
It would be
by the para. And then I'll tell
you what, like, behind the scenes of that scene with the Parasaurolophus, you know, how they're trying to lasso it and, you know, trying to capture it. It must have been such fun for the stuntmen to be, you know, like, thrown around.
Oh, yeah, they looked like they were having a good time. Like, you can so tell, like, they were having a lot of fun. But it went from fun to just downright sad when all of a sudden you see, like, the guys behind the para yank the ropes from under its feet and knock it over by pulling it out from under its feet. Like, I legitimately just felt sorry for that animal. Like, it's so sad. Like, the Packy getting captured and the para were, like, the most depressing dinosaur captures out of this movie. Like, that there's animal abuse and then there's that. Like, there's animal abuse, now there's dinosaur abuse, which It's just sad. That whole bit's just sad. And then we cut to. Then after this, we cut
But
to.
if we're talking about dinosaurs now, the dinosaurs of the film, then I think we should move on to the the superstars of the film, the dinosaur superstars, which is the Rex family and the Raptors.
The two.
And you, Tim, speaking of dinosaurs, you feel most sorry for. My heart easily goes out to Junior, the Rex.
Yeah, I did feel sorry. Oh, one other little bit I got to mention about him actually is I just love like his introduction, like Junior's introduction, where it's just him eating. He's just minding his own business, and he's sitting there eating lunch, or what's considered lunch. Yeah. Like, he's eating whatever his parents brought him, and Roland Tembo captures him to lure the buck out, to lure the adult out. Like, that's why they capture him to lure out the adult. And you just see this poor thing screaming. It is just, like, you can tell this thing's in pain. Like, it's laying on the ground, tied to a metal stake, and it's just crying. It is screaming and screaming and screaming out in the woods. And then you cut to... And this is where we were talking about the casting, because of Vince Vaughn. There's this bit where, they show all of Peter Ludlow and his guy and his group have this whole base camp set up. And there's this thing where they were talking about the arena in the city of San Diego, which I was recently in last year, so it's like, been there. Anyways, and then I love how Nick Van Owen looks at Malcolm, Sarah, and Eddie, and he's just like, guys, Hammond told me these people were going to show up. In case this happened, he did send a backup plan. And Sarah's like, what backup plan? And you see Nick pull out a pair of bolt cutters out of his vest, and he just goes, me? like they really played up the fact that he's part of they really play up the fact that he's part of Greenpeace. Like, I love that they actually play that part, like, play that little character part up, because you just see Nick Van Owen and Sarah Harding are walking around this camp, literally letting the dinosaurs out. Like, they are literally letting them all out. And then one of the funniest scenes in this movie is when Ludlow is all saying, that the San Diego can be completed and ready to receive visitors in less than a month. Then it comes down to like a 3-2-1 moment. Boom! A Triceratops just comes barreling out from behind him. Like, it just comes out of nowhere. Like, you see the dinosaurs being freed, but you didn't expect them to go apeshit. Like, the dinosaurs go all apeshit. It's like, you ever notice they're plant eaters, but they were chasing people? Like, you see the parrot chasing somebody, the Packy was chasing somebody.
My favourite part of that scene was seeing the Pachycephalosaurus again, just with its head down and chasing someone, getting ready to butt him.
It's like the plant eaters were sick of their shit. Like the whole plant, plant eaters were sick of their shit. And speaking of the plant eaters, I love the fact that the first dinosaur that we actually besides the compies, one of the most majestic scenes in here is the Stegosaurus. Because the way they're introduced.
Before we go on, the reason why the Stegosaurs were included in this film was because there were a lot of letters to Steven Spielberg from dinosaur fans of Jurassic Park saying, how come Stegosaurus wasn't in the first Jurassic Park?
Wait, what'd you say, Daniel? Wait, you were one of them you were one of those people that said it? Really?
Yep, I was one of them that sent the letter.
You were one of the ones that sent that letter, really, that asked why isn't Stegosaurus in this movie?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite dinosaurs when I was a kid.
Damn! Oh, that is badass, dude. That is awesome. Like, you were one of those kids that literally said, please put Stegosaurus in a Jurassic Park movie?
Yep.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Stegosaurus is a really cool, like, in design, it is a cool dinosaur. I mean, it's literally an elephant with a spiked tail. I mean, seriously, it's like a...
Hold on, so you're 34 now, so you would have been...
In 97, when this movie came out, like 8 years old. James and I were one. We were like one at the time. I know I was a year old at the time.
We're babies compared to Daniel.
Exactly, but
that's what I always say. I'm an old man.
We're toddlers, really. We're toddlers compared to Daniel.
That's what I always say. I'm an old man because
but that's crazy, though. You were one of the kids that sent a letter to Spielberg and said, "Please put Stegosaurus."
I always say how old I am.
But it's just so crazy. Like, I just love how the scene is very majestic. Like the way you see these things just walking past everybody, and well, for the main characters. And you ever notice like how one of the stegosaurs told them to basically, can you move, please? Because you see one stegosaur kind of like grumble, and the characters like move, they back up a little bit. You ever notice that? They kind of like backed up a little after like one of them walked past them. Like, it grumbled, and then they backed up. And then here's Ian Malcolm being a prick, like, ooh, wow, that's how it always starts. And then all of a sudden everyone's running and screaming, like, dude, Malcolm, come on. Enjoy the moment, why don't you? But enjoy the moment, why don't you? Like, seriously, enjoy the friggin' moment. Oh, and then Sarah does something I would do. I told Daniel this when we were watching the movie. I would do this. I would walk up to a baby and pet it. I would walk up to a baby and I would pet the thing. Wait, Daniel, didn't you say you would do that too? Didn't you say you would?
Yeah, carefully.
Yeah, like, and it's just so funny how...
No, too risky.
But did you guys notice though? Did you guys notice the puppet? Did you guys notice the puppet for that baby kind of looked a little too puppetish? Like only its head moved. Like its body was motionless, but only its head and eyes moved, and that's it. Like it was very limited movement. Like the thing didn't move as much as it could.
You know that Stegosaurus has a name, right?
It does. That baby had a name. I'm trying to remember what it is. I think Spielberg named it, right?
Her name is Claire.
Claire?
Name is Claire.
They named it Claire, really? Oh my...
Claire Lestego.
I think it was... Didn't Spielberg name it? Like, wasn't it Spielberg the one who named it?
And there's behind the scenes photo of him, like, directing it.
Yeah, he was pointing... There's a photo of him, like, doing this with the baby with the puppet next to him. I love that he even Spielberg...
actually looks like... The puppet, it actually looks like it's listening to him, because it's kind of looking like this, like...
It is, yeah. Like, I love in that photo where it literally, like, even Spielberg was rolling with it. Like, you can tell he's having just as much fun making this movie as the cast was. But I just love how like the Stegosaurs when the adults notice and I just love the short scene where one of them like almost like tries to swipe at Sarah, like it swings all of its tail at her, misses her, and then another one shoves its tail spikes into a tree. Like that thing is pissed. Like that Stegosaurus, like the Stegosaurs, they were pissed. I mean, they were pissed off.
It just plunges its
the tail
what's it called again? No, there's a word for it. Thagomizer?
Yeah,
The Thagomizer. It just shoves the part into a tree, and it's like you can tell those things were pissed off. Like those Stegosaurs were pissed. Like they were.
I mean, I've seen that sort of behavior with modern day animals all the time. So
especially bears. Bears are a classic example of that. Like if you mess with a bear's cubs, the mother will try to kill your ass.
It's any
animal. Yeah, any animal. But the first example that comes to mind is bears, and I just love the fact that. Oh, and you guys noticed with the baby? Did you guys notice they used a hyena noise? That loud, high-pitched noise. That was a hyena. Clearly, that was a hyena, so it was kind of weird how they used a carnivore sound for a plant eater. Like, I just think it's a carnivore sound, but for a plant eater. And, anyways, back to, like, shit going Michael Bay style over here, because shit gets blown up in this movie. Like, the base camp scene kind of goes Michael Bay style, and then...
That scene where, like, Sarah was trying to make it get away from the Stegosaurs, and... like, one of them swipes it down, like, the sound it made. I love the sound it made.
Oh, the big whoosh? Like, the big whooshing sound? Yeah, like, that was honestly, like, see, I love how dinosaurs, like, in these movies, they get their time to shine, and the Stegosaurus really did get its time to, like, you know, because everyone knows... everyone knows Stegosaurus is... Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. No, you go.
It's like, because everyone knows Stegosaurus is, like, this large... powerful, like this large, powerful plant eater that has a tail that can fuck you up at the drop of a dime. And the movie really tries to show that. Like, it shows what the why it's called that, why the Thagameister looks like it does for a reason. Like, the movie shows, like, this is why we have spikes, bitch. Like,
I was gonna say, like if Sarah did got struck, can you imagine the damage it would have done?
She would have been impaled. She would have been impaled probably on one of the spikes and then yeeted up into a tree or some shit. Like, I'm pretty sure she'd have died from that instantly.
I was thinking, with an impact like that, and with an object that sharp, like, it could easily slice you in two.
It could, yeah, like that, yeah, with that. But it's so crazy that it just misses Sarah.
It would be a relatively quick death. It's just be like, and then that's it.
Exactly.
It's much more merciful than what the Raptors or the Rex would do to you.
Yeah, exactly. And then, speaking of the Rex, there's one very fucked up behind the scenes thing that it's one of the scenes that I'm really happy is not in this movie, because there's a bit where they explain in the movie that Junior's leg is broken, and the reason for that, the actual reason for that, and I'm really happy this was cut from the movie, actually, because it's sad, is that Peter Ludlow was drunk, and he fell on the baby's leg. And there's a photograph showing him on the landing on the baby's leg. There's one photograph that exists of that.
Well, like a behind-the-scenes photo.
No, it's an actual... No, it's literally as they were filming it. It's like the one photo, the only piece of existence of that scene, of him falling and tripping on the baby's leg. He falls backwards on Junior's leg, and that's why his leg breaks, is because Peter Ludlow got drunk and he did that. So, it was his... Exactly. So I'm happy that scene's not in the movie. I'm happy that was cut and only a photo exists, because oh my god, knowing that makes me hate Peter Ludlow even more. And then you just have, like, there's this thing that was in the book, very prevalent in the novel, called the High Hide. And the High Hide is literally, well, the name is pretty much self-explanatory. It's this little, I guess a cage, I guess you could call it a cage that is drawn up, pulled by a wire on the back of one of the on the back of one of the vehicles, and it pulls them up into the trees, hence why it's called High Hide. And, you know, the first time they do this, you know, Nick Van Owen, being the animal lover that he is, which I think we can all fully relate to, he takes Junior, brings him to the trailer, and he and Sarah put a cast on his leg to try to heal it, which, not gonna lie, I would have done that too in that situation, because the poor thing's a baby. Like, come on, help the little guy.
I mean, you know me, like, I told you, what was it, last night?
Last night, when that kangaroo thing, that poor kangaroo you saw on the side of the road. And it's... Yeah,
you know, as someone who has done coursework and volunteer work with pretty much every sort of animal, I've always felt it's like a responsibility of mine whenever there's a carcass of a macropod, which is that's what the group of marsupials are called. In kangaroos and wallabies, they're called macropods. And, yeah, whenever there's a marsupial carcass on the road, I always pull over. No matter how busy it is, just pull over, make sure there's nothing in the pouch. And if there is, take the baby, just take it down to a wildlife rescue center, and that's it.
Get it helped
and
out.
if they're not open, and if they're not open, I just take care of it for the night until the morning. So
exactly, and
it's not the easiest feat to do, but you got to do it.
Exactly, and this movie does show that, because this baby, you can see that Nick Van Owen kind of was struggling to hold it, because it's terrified. The poor little thing was. It's its own character. I like that Junior was his own little character. Like, he's struggling, he's screaming, calling for his parents. And then, of course, Kelly, for some reason, was telling Ian Malcolm, like, that she wanted to be somewhere high, and it's kind of a stupid way to really use the High Hide. It's kind of a really stupid way to utilize the damn thing. And
Yeah.
and then Ian Malcolm was trying to call the boat that brought them to the island, and of course everyone spoke Spanish, so Ian Malcolm was getting pissed. He's getting pissed at them. He's getting pissed at them for this. And then all of a sudden they're up in the high hide, and this is the part of the movie that scares the fuck out of me. I've been wanting to get to this part, this whole review, because, and Daniel, you saw, I told you how terrified I was of this scene. Like, they're up, it's Eddie Carr, both of the Malcolms are up in the high hide, and then Kelly was like, you know, he's like, she's like, you know, I remember everything you were telling me, and Ian was like, oh no, we're in a completely different situation right now. Dude, you hear okay, the setting of this movie, like, we mentioned this at the beginning, it is dark, dimly lit, in the rain, this whole frickin' time, and you hear that roar in the trees. Just hearing that shit scared the shit out of me. Like, Tyrannosaurus Rex is my favorite dinosaur, but that one little bit made me terrified of T-Rex. I legitimately got scared of my favorite. Like, the way this movie, and I love the fact that they do this, like, they kind of did a build-up to Rexy's appearance in the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then in this movie,
Yeah,
they do the same thing. But it's like, they actually play the roar so you know what dinosaur you're dealing with now. You hear the roar, and there's this cool effect to make it even more scary. You actually hear the echo after it roars. Like, you actually hear this little echo effect that they do. And then they all look down at the trees, and you just physically hear and see the trees shaking. And then the birds start flying away. And then you're sitting there thinking, holy fuck, here they come, here they come. And it's like, god damn. It's like, holy shit. And then one of the vehicles gets tossed off a cliff, off screen. Like, you just see one of the vehicles fall off a cliff.
That is easily... This is the highlight of the film for me. The scene, Mummy's very angry.
Mummy's very angry. And then the one thing
I love that. That's such a good, well-executed scene. Because it's so... It just puts you on edge the whole time.
And what makes you put it on edge, just like in the first movie, how there's no music to the Rex's appearance. There's no music in the scene. And you just see, like this blurry shot of the window behind everybody, and you just see this dark mass show up at the window, and then it's blurry, and then when everyone turns around, the camera focuses, and it's like, oh my god, it's a T-Rex! But then there's not only one Rex in this movie, there's two of these damn things, which is even worse. And they're just coming there for the baby, for Junior, so it's just like they know he's in there. I think it's what is
that word again? What is that word again when two animals pair for life? There's a word for it.
Monogamy? Monogamous? I think it's called monogamous, I believe. Or
I think that's
marriage.
But that's the why.
Fucking damn, fucking dude. Marriage. Marriage. I could just see how many guys in the comment section can like, yep, I fully agree to this. As a married man, I approve of this. As an actual married man, I approve of that line. Marriage.
Yeah, but I think how do you say it again?
Monogamous. Yeah. I know it's a hard word to pronounce.
But yeah, I've always thought it was sort of sweet that they were together as a pair for that long, the Rex family, just because you see them. Spoiler alert. You see them at the end of Jurassic World Dominion. They're still together after all that time.
Yeah. You still see them. Together, and I just love like how they are. I mean, the scene's terrifying, but then when you see these two as characters, it is actually adorable by dinosaur standards, to be honest. But I just love like how after a little bit they give the baby back to the couple, and I just kind of find it crazy how, you know, the baby's kind of quiet most of the scene. It's got like the leather strap on over its snout.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
A noise.
But you just have this, and then all of a sudden, like, it's, you know, as soon as Nick Van Owen takes the muzzle off, then the baby starts screaming, which doesn't make things any more smoother. You know, this thing is already scared and terrified, and you have its parents looking at it going, what the fuck did you do to our kid? Like, they're just looking like, what did you do to our kid? And then you think it's all good, right? And then all of a sudden, then you just
stands up and he's like, hang on, it's gonna be bad.
And then the whole trailer just flips over. The trailer just gets wrecked, and then it gets pushed over the cliff. It's like the first half of it's getting pushed over the cliff. And when it comes to like suspense scenes, when it comes to the cliff, this cliff scene, Daniel, you said you've been in a situation on ice where it's like the glass slowly cracks. You said you've had a situation where ice was like that?
Yeah, I was on a frozen lake, and it wasn't as solid frozen as I thought. It was terrifying.
And it's when you talk about suspense, like that scene, yeah, with the glass like slowly breaking and shit, like Steven Spielberg, he's good at doing suspense, and this scene is very like, because they're dangling over a literal cliff, like you can just see down below there's rocks and water with two things that can kill you.
Yeah, just like jagged
rocks and shit. So you know, like, these people are in actual danger here. And then Daniel said this is true, that you can do this. Eddie Carr actually comes to their rescue and actually manages to pull like a third of the trailer back up. And Daniel, you said that's kind of possible, like sort of.
Kinda. It depends on the grip and the power of the car.
Yeah.
But in this, when it comes to James, you said this earlier, the death that really did not deserve. He didn't deserve this. Like, the Rex couple comes back and destroys this car.
Why did they come back? That's what I don't know.
Well, actually, Marty kind of explained it a little bit. They actually explained it a little bit. Like, they persisted in destroying the trailers. Now they had to defend the area because they took the baby. So the Rexes had to defend that. They had to expand their territory a little bit. Yeah. And then you can just see the look on Eddie's face with these things literally tearing this car up. I mean, they knock off the doors, rip off the roof.
Eddie deserves so much more praise than any other character in this franchise. He died a hero.
He did. He died saving everybody. Like, he died trying to save everybody.
He is the definition of what any good friend should be.
Exactly.
No matter if his life was
cut short, like very much cut short.
And he knew that, and he still couldn't care less about that, and pushed that all away just to save his friends.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Rexes, and these two Rexes, and then here comes the Lady in the Tramp reference where the poor guy gets ripped in half. And you see him get ripped in half.
And you can hear him screaming in their mouths.
You can, yeah. That's what I mean. This movie's tone is very darker and a little more serious. And you literally see that. And then, again, the movie kind of goes Michael Bay for a couple minutes where the trailer and the other Mercedes just explodes. And yes, I gotta make a Michael Bay joke because movie explosions. But you just see that, and now we have the cliche of two different groups of people having to work together to survive and get off this frickin' island. And when the two people work together, I love, Dieter Stark, that character, man, I have never seen, there's Peter Ludlow, and then there's this guy who's such an asshole, man. Like, he literally electrocuted a compy. Like, he takes out this little electric prod, and he shoots a compy in the face with it, and like a taser-looking thing. Like, what the fuck, man?
He was just curious about you. He was just checking you out.
And even Marty, the character Marty, even says it. He says, like, there haven't really been many visitors to this island. There's no reason for it to fear man. Then Dieter freaking electrocutes it, and then he goes, now it does. You bitch! Like, oh my god, I hated that. I hated that character. I so hated that. And there's a theory about his. There's a theory about his death, Daniel, that you read. You said there's a theory about how he dies. Like, he didn't die by compy. He died by something else. You said there's a theory about that.
Yeah, that's the theory my brother had, that there was an actual velociraptor behind the log.
Because when he's
I've seen theories like that. there's so many other theories that say the exact same thing, that there was something else behind the log that Adidas Star jumped over. But no, I think it was the compies that got him. They just...
But the compies in this movie, like, in real life, Comstock Nate, it ate bugs. Like, this thing it's like one of the smallest dinosaurs in history. It ate bugs. And yet they made these things so aggressive. Like, they see somebody, they immediately jump on it like raptors.
Well, actually...
Like, they immediately start jumping it like these things are terrifying. Like little gremlins.
I have a feeling that some of the compies that attacked that little girl at the opening scene were some of the same ones that attacked Adidas Star.
I think they were too, actually. I think it was the same group. I think it was actually the same group that killed both those people. But you have to admit, though, the puppet work on Dieter, like, a lot of the compies that were on him were all puppets. Like, they were all individual little puppets. And
Have you seen the behind-the-scenes footage of that? Because
where he's just, where they tell him action, and he's just, like, shaking and waving his arms around and everything, and and the compies are all biting him and shit. Yeah, the behind-the-scenes footage of it's kind of funny, because it's like, you can tell they're puppets, and he's just trying to act like he's getting eaten, but then, in the movie, it's terrifying. Like, when you watch the movie, it's scary, that you got these little things that... And, Daniel, you said during the one scene he actually shouts at him in Swedish? Because I didn't know this actor. I didn't know the actor was Swedish.
It says a few words. I can't remember exactly right now, but I can look them up.
Yeah, you said he shouts at him in Swedish at one point? Like, he actually says something in, like...
Well, the actor is a Swedish actor, so Swedish.
But it's so...
What's his name?
Daniel, no disrespect, dude, but that character, I'm sorry, I'm happy he dies, because he's such a dick to animal. He's such an animal asshole. Like, he's such a dick, man.
Bro, any person that abuses an animal deserves a fate worse than death.
Exactly, and it's so crazy, and I just love how, and I love how he's dead. I love Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I love how they know he's dead when Roland Tembo's like, well, what did they find of him? Just the parts they didn't like. Like, so you're just like, damn, they ripped his ass. They ripped him a new one. The copies ripped him a new asshole, man. Shit. But, and then, I love how the Rexes in this movie, like, Rexy was made popular in the first movie, but this movie pushes, let's use the T-Rexes a lot in this movie. Like, there's a lot of Rex screen time in this movie here, especially, like, there's the camping scene where, like, everybody's sleeping outside, where you have all the survivors are just, like, they're sleeping on the ground, right? And then the Rexes... Basically, and you should recognize this gaming reference, Daniel, I'm about to make. So, this is for gamers. They basically pull a Solid Snake and just sneak into this freaking camp while nobody hears them, by the way. Nobody hears these two big-ass animals walk into camp here. Like, no one heard this? Do you mean none of you people felt that? Nobody heard these two giant animals Solid Snake their way into camp here? Like, no one heard this? Really? You mean to tell me nobody heard that? Or, really? Like, you mean to tell me no one heard this?
Well, like, I mean, even in the real world, when it comes to animals, let's say, that are oversized, they can be pretty stealthy when they want to be.
They can, really?
Yeah. Look at an alligator.
Well, an alligator, but that thing's in the water. That thing's in the water. You're dealing with an animal on land that's standing upwards like 12 to 15 feet high. How the frick no one hears that?
Dude, are you serious? I've seen plenty of footage of, like, unsuspecting people get sneaked up upon by animals just as big as a Rex.
Elephants, lions, animals can be sneaky if they want to.
But for gamers, I had to make for gamers, I had to make a Solid Snake joke because there was a Gamera joke somebody made where somebody said Gamera Solid Snakes his way up behind a kid in Gamera the Giant Monster, so I had to make that joke. So that was for you, Corrupt Nostalgia, for making that joke when you did your Gamerathon. But anyways, I just love, like, the one Hispanic dude, Carter. I just love, like, when he freaks out, he just flips his shit, and then everybody wakes up, and then they all start running. Like, everyone just starts running for their scared-ass life. And I love Nick Van Owen, where he literally has an oh shit face. Like, when he gets up, and he looks up, and you see the look on his face, like, holy shit! And when he gets up and he starts running... Oh, and also, did you guys catch the fact that Nick Van Owen actually switched the bullets in Roland Tembo's gun? Like, he switches the bullets because Roland goes up to shoot the male, and and you see, like, the bullets don't work, and you hear him go, "Busted." You hear him like,
I love
"Busted."
that. Yeah, I've always thought that ever since watching that when I was a kid, I always mimicked that to piss off everyone who taught me that you shouldn't use that word out loud. And I just go like this. I just go like this intentionally to piss them off. I just go, "Bastard."
It's so funny when you watch these movies as a kid. You know, you learn some
I'm
vocabulary.
gonna use that. I'm gonna use that more often just to confuse people, just for the sake of it.
No, but it's so funny how it's like.
I'm just gonna stare at my hand for a few seconds and just go, "Bastard."
Like, it's so funny how, you know, you take your kids to this movie like, oh, look, it's a dinosaur movie, and kids they get a really huge lesson in vocabulary. Like, they learn a really huge lesson in vocabulary. Oh, and also, there's a meme we gotta put in this review, because Doe Rex chases after everybody, and you see the poor Hispanic dude Carter get squished, and Daniel and I we literally were going, "Dumb ways to die." Like,
He gets stuck to a foot like a piece of gum.
He does, and then not only does he get smashed once, he gets smashed twice. Not only once, but twice. But Daniel and I, when we were watching that happen, we were both like, "Dumb ways to die." I don't know why that meme just snuck into our brains while we were watching that scene, but it's so...
I mean, as much as a dickhead that guy was, I kind of feel sorry for him, because...
You know, Carter wasn't really a dick. He wasn't really a bad character. He was actually okay. Like, he was actually...
No, he sort of... but he proposed the Rexes to attack the camp, because he started screaming like a bitch.
Because he flipped his shit. Yeah, he freaked out. But the other death, I think...
But then again, I can't really blame him, because who wouldn't freak out?
It's
honestly.
a T-Rex, dude. You wouldn't freak out if you saw a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex, like, right in your face. But the other death, I think, that did not deserve to happen was Marty. The long-haired dude. The long-haired guy.
Is that his actual name?
In the movie, Marty Gutierrez, that's that character. That's
paleontologist.
Yeah, that's him. That's Marty Gutierrez. That was him. And the
sad... I always just called him Dr. Burke, because that's...
I think it was it Burke? I could have sworn it was Marty, but no, I don't think that was Burke. But his death did not need that.
You are so way off with his name.
What was his name?
His name's not Marty at all.
What is it?
It's Robert Burke.
That's Robert Burke, really?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Because Sarah Harding mentions like one thing about him. I didn't think that was an actual character in the movie. I didn't think it was an actual. You
were saying earlier. You mentioned this guy's name was Marty, and I was like, who the fuck's Marty? I didn't.
Well, the thing is like a lot of the time. Oh, and also. You mentioned, like, the funny bit where Nick Van Owen and Dieter Stark almost get into a fist fight before Dieter Stark dies.
I know you. You're that first bastard.
Well, no, there's that, and then also, like, the first time Dieter Stark walks past Nick Van Owen, Nick's like, he's like, back off, and Dieter's like, gives him this snarky-ass face, and then he goes like, you looking for a problem? Well, I found you, didn't I? And then they didn't even really get into a fight, like, it gets broken up in, like, 5 seconds. It gets broken up in like 5 seconds, but Robert Burke's death is just as brutal it's just as brutal as Eddie's, because And Daniel and I were even making fun. We're even kind of making fun of this. Like, the dude got terrified of a tiny little snake. Like, dude, there's a freaking T-Rex outside.
And it was a harmless snake as well. It was non-venomous.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's supposed to be an expert in reptiles, and he gets scared up by a snake like that. Just there's a giant monster little outside. Just grab the thing and throw it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like, and that's what you're scared of, really, dude? Like, you're scared of this tiny little snake, and then you just hear crunch, 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 blood dripping down the waterfall, and he's fucking dead.
Yeah, that crunch.
Oh
that
yeah,
crunch
like you just hear all the bones snapping and shit, and then we get into the long grass scene, which is where we're introduced to the raptors, and that scene.
And speaking of the Velociraptors, so you remember me in the last podcast we did doing a review for Jurassic Park. You remember me saying the only negative about this film that I'm only nitpicking because the dinosaur designs weren't really up there as they were in the novel compared to the film, and I mentioned tiger striped velociraptors.
Yeah.
Well, in this film, they're here.
Yeah, exactly. And the colors on the raptors are definitely like big improvement over. And speaking of tiger stripe, actually, I have. Yes, and I'm actually bringing it out. I actually have a figure of a tiger stripe here. I actually have a tiger stripe raptor.
So hoping.
And what's so cool
I am so hoping I can get one. I'm able to find one of those at the Jurassic World exhibition in Sydney.
I'm pretty sure they'll have this. I'm pretty sure they'll.
I'm gonna come back. When I come back from that, you're gonna see me with a whole bunch of merchandise.
But what's actually crazy though is like when it comes to the long grass scene, I just love like how the first time you see the people like. This scene is actually really suspenseful. Like, you see the raptors' heads in the grass, and they're slowly approaching the group. Like, these things have everyone, like, surrounded. Like, everyone is surrounded. Then all of a sudden, you just you just see people getting yanked, and the tail comes flying out. But the dude that dies is like, dumb ways to die. Because the dude turns around and he screams, and you see a raptor just jump out of the grass and tackle him. Like, you just see a raptor jump out of the grass and tackle his ass, which, I don't know why that's funny, but it just looked funny for some reason. And there's actually another deleted scene out of this part, too, because there's
I've got to say, before,
hey, Daniel, what are you doing? Why is your chair turned... Hey, what the hell is he doing?
A thingy?
Oh, a thingy. Okay.
Do we need to cut again?
Ah, fuck.
Hold on, do we need to cut again?
No.
Ah.
Okay, now
okay, good.
So what were you saying?
JW? So that scene with don't go in the long grass. Me and my mates in school used to copy that scene all the time.
Why wouldn't you copy that scene? It's one of the highlights of this movie. Why wouldn't you impersonate that?
Yeah, but like whenever we would go out exploring, when I used to live in the UK, we always lived near these really densely wooded areas, and there was often long grass there, and we would always go, don't go in the long grass!
Oh, I did the same thing when we were playing around in the woods when I was a kid.
And actually, there's another deleted scene out of this part too, because if you guys remember, you heard a dude screaming in the background after Nick, Sarah, and the Malcolms were running. They come in after everybody else. You hear screaming in the background. That screaming was RJ, was Roland's friend. Yeah. That was RJ, because there's a scene before that where you literally see the raptors. Okay, so once again we had a little Alright, so...
Why do you keep doing it that way?
Because it's funny, genius.
Oh, well, whatever.
Also, technical difficulties are a problem.
Wow. Well, I tried one way, and then Dudemeister steps in and acts like he just turned into a battle droid from frickin' Star Wars for 5 seconds. He had droid mode activated.
Oh no.
No,
Oh no. The enemies are incoming. It doesn't matter.
Wrong genre, dude. You're in the wrong genre. Anyways, what I was saying before our little was
Hold on. Should we restart that? Because we're kind of getting off track a little.
Nah, we can start. It can go on.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, what I was saying before that was like I was telling you guys like they have the deleted scene with the long grass where when you hear RJ screaming in the off in the distance, that's because there was a scene where RJ was being surrounded by the raptors and they all jump him, and that scream was what was left over from that scene. So you hear the dude screaming off in the distance. And that scream is actually kind of scary because like we said way at the beginning of this review, the whole movie's at night, so it adds to like that horror movie aspect. And then we come to something that Jurassic Park has become very famous for, is showing the ruins of InGen's operation centers. Where it's like where nature's basically taking it back. It's all covered in trees and shit's just busted up, and it just has an abandoned town.
All the rundown headquarters where they create the dinosaurs, essentially.
Yeah, and I just love the idea of having bless you. I just love the idea of having the second island that John Hammond says at the beginning, where on Isla Sorna is where they made the animals, and then once they matured enough, they transport them to Nublar. Honestly, I kind of like that idea that, on Nublar they had some of the dinosaurs, but on Site B is where they made majority of them. So I think
I never understood that though. Like, why set up two different sites when when there's planned to be an attraction on one site already where they already have a lot of these things.
Well, maybe it was like a extra precaution on population control. Like maybe it was like a.
Maybe. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The original plan, from what I gathered, is that he decided two places. One is a show area where he shows off the dinosaurs and everything. The other island is where he does experiments on them, testing the viability of the creatures he's creating.
Oh, okay.
From a scientific standpoint, that actually does make a lot more separate your priorities. Like put your priorities so you don't so nothing gets mixed up, kind of thing.
Yeah, the lab you see on the original park was basically just for show.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't doing any actual genetic research there. They were just repeating what they're already doing.
That makes sense. They were just
literally just acting there. As you can see, there only was one hatching chamber in the entire island.
That's true.
In the original park, and when you go to the second one, you see tubes and everything on growing signals and everything.
Yeah, that's true.
That's smart.
But when it comes to, of course, just like in the first Jurassic Park, the Raptors, of course, have their big moment, and this, the abandoned operation scene is, to me, I mean, they did have the long grass scene, but the operations bit is, their big moment in the movie, because you just see the Raptors just start chasing the main characters. And I love the one where there's the bit where Ian Malcolm deals with this one raptor that is just trying to kill him for 5 straight minutes, and it's it jumps through a window, then knocks. What is with Steven Spielberg and his thing in this movie with breaking windows? What's his window fetish that he has? He just breaks windows, people fall through windows.
Fetish.
He just has this thing with breaking windows, raptors breaking windows, people falling out of windows. What's this whole thing with this scene with windows being smashed?
Steven Spielberg has a window fetish.
It just...
Well, it's better than Michael Bay's explosion fetish.
Shit gets destroyed one way or the other. Shit gets wrecked one way or the other. But I just love the one where, like, the raptor chases Ian Malcolm into a Jeep, and it starts shoving its face in through the window, and that thing must have some tough skin, because that thing's whole face would have been
definitely.
sliced. That, in real life, that thing's
Scales.
face would be bleeding. Like, that thing's face would be, like, cut up and bleeding from shoving it through a glass window. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, dude, that has to hurt, man. Stop. I want to slap the raptor, like, dude, stop. You're hurting yourself, man. Fuck. Stop it. If you're going to chase the dude, chase him somewhere else. Chase him some other way.
I
not
imagine-
hurt yourself.
I imagine if that did happen, like its face got all cut up and there's like bits and pieces of glass sticking out of its snout.
That's what I mean.
I'm-
Like, the fact that
I
that
would
raptor
assume-
was taking that risk of
I
hurting
would
itself
assume-
is insane.
I would assume it wouldn't really care.
It probably
Because-
wouldn't. It was probably really hungry, and it probably wouldn't give a shit,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. But then we have,
I don't
like...
think it would care.
Do you guys feel like the raptor fight at the end of that scene is random? Like, you just have two raptors just start beating the shit out of each other out of nowhere?
Nah,
Not
I
really.
can see it. They're fighting over prey.
It's
Yeah,
true, but it
they're
just
fighting-
felt a little random that, like, you got, like,
Nah,
they were all working
was-
together, and all of a sudden two of them just like, wait, what the fuck? Now y'all, what the hell's happening with you two?
Well, you see it
Imagine it from their point of view. They were chasing one prey, and it got kicked. You're chasing a prey, then you suddenly get kicked down, and you land on another dude who's apparently chasing your prey. Yes.
I guess
Yo,
that
fuck
does.
off! This is mine.
But
You
it's
see it
so
with
weird
real
though.
animals.
But it's kind of
I
crazy.
mean, I've seen it.
I mean,
I've seen it
lions do
myself
don't
with-
they? I know lions do. They do that shit, right? Don't male lions have that
Yeah.
same? Male lions do the
Well,
same thing.
a lot of predatory animals do so.
But I just love how one of them clearly, like, you can just see how one of them just loses almost right off the bat. Like, you just see one of them just straight up get tackled so easily. Like, I kind of felt sorry for that one that was getting its ass kicked. Like, I actually felt sorry for that raptor. I'm like, dude, man, get up, get up. I was kind of rooting for it for like half a second. Like, the scene went from terrifying to, dude, seriously, please get up. Like, you're getting your ass kicked, buddy, come on. But I actually, one bit, and I wanted to do just one novel comparison. I think it was in the operations building, in the operations center. There was supposed to be in the novel, there's these two Carnotaurs that is apparently said to be the scariest scene in the novel because you have these
of course,
two.
the camouflage carnivores.
Yeah, they said they have like chameleon DNA in them, and that's how they were able to blend in, basically like Predator. And they stare at them outside the fence, and it's really creepy. And I'm very shocked that they didn't put that in the movie, because the movie's scary enough.
But it's interesting though that they gave that idea to the Indominus for Jurassic World.
That's
she can
true.
blend
Yeah,
it.
they gave, or as Daniel calls it, and I'm waiting for him to say it.
I do wonder though if it's sort of like a homage to the camouflage carnivores in the novelization, or if it was just their own idea, just to give it.
Probably, but Daniel, what do you call that thing? I gotta hear your say.
Bullshitosaurus.
Exactly.
And I refuse to call it something else.
When we get to
It will always
Jurassic
be
World,
called Bullshitosaurus.
when we get to Jurassic World, folks, that's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be
something.
interesting.
That is gonna be interesting. But after you have the raptor bit, and then all of a sudden, I think like a while before this, like the male Rex. It's so interesting how Roland Tembo, like, he goes from wanting to hunt Buck to just tranquilizing him. Like, he shoots him, like, in the hip or something. Like, he tranquilizes the thing twice, which knocks him out. Because after the operations center scene, they look down and they see the Rex in, like, that carrier thing, whatever you call it. Like, you had the Rex laying down with that cage-looking thing on its body, or have it bound, or whatever the hell that thing is. And I just love Roland Tembo's closing.
Just call it a container. I just call it a container.
But you guys got to admit though, Roland Tembo's last line, his ending line in the movie was when Peter Ludlow was saying, was offering Roland a job with InGen, and Roland's like, "I've spent enough time in the company of death." Like, that closing line was, honestly, that's probably like his best line out of this movie, because it's like, you can tell.
And it sums it all, and it pretty much sums up what InGen is, the company of InGen is. It pretty much is the company of death.
Yeah, exactly, and it shows that he, and you can just see the look on his face of losing RJ, because RJ was his best friend. Like, you can just see how sad he was on losing, because in the movie, every scene with Roland in it, or almost every scene, RJ was with him the entire time. Like, RJ was with him almost the entire movie, so you can just see the sadness on his face that he just lost his best friend. And you never see him after that, and I would have loved to see him return in a future movie, you know what I mean? Rest in peace to the actor, because I know he...
Yeah, rest in peace, Pete Postlewhistle, man, because...
Exactly.
He and... What was the actor's name who played Muldoon in Jurassic Park?
Oh my god, I know who you're talking about.
I'm bad at actors, so yeah, no, I'm not gonna touch that.
But,
the actor who played Muldoon in Jurassic Park and Roland Tembo in Lost World Jurassic Park, rest in peace to both of them, man.
But what's so insane though is and you guys gotta even the movie itself didn't like Peter Ludlow, because there's like that scene where they're in the woods, they're sitting in the woods, all the survivors before they all die, most of them die, they're sitting in the woods and they take like a 15-20 minute break, and Peter gets up and he goes, "Let's carry on. Up." He's trying to get them all, he's trying to be all like, get them all prepped up, and Nick Van O just gets up and goes, "Alright guys, let's get the hell out of here." Then everybody gets up and moves. Like, you can tell, like, even the movie doesn't like Peter Ludlow. Like, the movie intentionally hates its own character.
That's gold. That's gold right there.
That is gold. Like, even the movie, I love it when even the movie hates its own human asshole. Like,
you know, come to think of it, it is more self-aware of itself than I originally, gave it for. Like, wow.
It really is, and that's what, see, the more you watch these movies, the more you notice about certain things, certain details. Like, the more you watch them, the more you start noticing these things. And it's so insane.
And actually, that's the case, like, when you, like, how we're talking about it right now. We're bringing up all these little extra details that might have been overlooked and missed by many others. But, like, by the time they listen to all this, and they probably want to go back and watch this, they'll pick up on it, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, they're right. Yeah, it's so self-aware of itself, yeah."
Oh, great. Watch somebody make their own video, like, they play our audio of this, and then they
you're not claiming our reviews. You're not claiming our opinion, boy. Yeah, no way now.
Well, no, think about it though. It's just like, what if they listen to it and they write it down as like notes, and then they play clips of the movie, and they're saying it's like, wow, these three really were paying attention to this movie. Like, they really were paying attention to this movie. So it's and the container bit.
But you better not steal my notes.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, after everything the characters go through, now we come to the San Diego scene. Then we come to what is easily one of the biggest controversial aspects of this movie. And from what I remember, Spielberg literally thought of this at the last minute. It was a last minute thing, actually.
for you two, it might be a positive, but for me,
it's a huge positive.
It's something that I'm very conflicted about, mixed about, because there are some fans who do love this scene, and there are others who do absolutely hate it, surprisingly. But even though, like, I do have mixed feelings about the San Diego rampage, with Buck, just going on a full-out rampage for San Diego, looking for Junior, just searching for his family, like, for the dough as well. And you really feel for him, because it's like King Kong.
It kind of is a little bit like it actually. Oh, and speaking of King Kong, there's the name of the ship that was transporting the transporting him, named the Venture. There was the name of the ship, and also speaking of the ship, there's like the weird thing that a lot of fans have theorized about for years is when Peter Ludlow and one of the security guards on one of the dock guards go up, and Ludlow's like, "Where's the crew?" And the guy's like, "All over the place." And you see a dismembered hand on the wheel. And a lot of fans have theorized what could have done that. And apparently there was actual concept art saying that a raptor snuck on the ship and did it, or Buck was the one that did it, that killed everybody. And in the movie, they don't really explain that. Like, that goes completely unanswered. Like, they just say the crew's all over the place, and you're just like, well, what the fuck killed these people? Like, why are they all over the place?
Just dead.
They're just
like, that is easily, for me, that moment is easily one of the biggest mysteries for me when it comes to, like, as a movie buff, as a moviegoer, like, who spends the majority of his time just binge watching movies, like out of
hey, same to you and I, you moron.
like out of most movies I've seen, this is the one scene that I cannot make sense of whatsoever.
Nobody can make sense of this. Nobody can make sense of this.
Even the most unexplainable things that have happened to me in my life make more sense than that scene does.
It's just wild that they just have, like, they just show this dismembered hand, and then, I'm not gonna lie, Buck's entrance, when after the boat
it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but after the boat literally crashes, like, this boat does not waste, there's no time wasted on showing shit getting wrecked in this scene. Like, this boat just comes barreling through the dock, basically destroying everything. And Buck's entrance, when he comes out of the cargo hold, and him roaring and just walking around, and I love this, and I love the shot where there's the two guys running away from him, and they both jump in the water, and Buck narrowly misses eating one of them. Like, he snaps his jaws at the second dude. And I love the look on Peter Ludlow's face. Like, he has the look of utter, like, oh my god, I fucked up, because you can see, like, oh my god, this is what my uncle created. He created a monster. Like, I think you could just see the look on his face, like, this is what my uncle did. What the fuck were you doing? And you can just see the utter look of shock on his face when Buck is walking around, like, and you can just, and I think...
Yeah, like, his expression, man, just with his eyes are just, like, nearly popped out of his head, and he's just looking at the Buck, like, just roaming around, causing mayhem and chaos, and, he's staring at it there's so many expressions and emotions that he's just letting out all at once into that one just total look of fear, shame, and everything else that you can think of.
Exactly. And then, and also, there's and I love the scene goes from, like, terrifying to, I wouldn't really call it, I guess it kind of looks a little funny. There's of course, when you come here, and it's an actual rule I found out, when you come here to the U.S., there's a thing where it says, like, no fruits, vegetables, or animals beyond this point. And I love how Buck smashes his head through that sign because it said no animals. It says no fruits, vegetables, or animals, and Buck says fuck that, and he just smashes through the sign. And then we get the infamous, like, the
I
most...
can't fucking read!
I can't fucking read! Oh, no.
Can you just imagine that? We should do, like, a voiceover for that. To say, I can't read!
No, but then we get to, like, the...
I'm old in a language! Smash.
Wait, what did you say? Wait,
I'm older than language!
I'm older than language.
My eyes are too small, I can barely see anything, I can't move, I can't fucking read!
No, but then we get to, like, the...
They do have really beady eyes, really tiny eyes, don't they?
They do, even though their eye sockets are pretty large. It's weird that they gave them, like, these tiny little, like, these tiny eyes. But then we get to, like, probably the most wallpaper-looking worthy shot out of this whole thing is the Rex standing... He stands on, like, this little rocky shore outcropping, and he roars with the city in the background. I don't know, like, I just love the way that shot looks. Like, if you were screenshot it, it's like, that's a wallpaper. Like, that whole shot looks like an work of art right there. Wait, what?
I want that screenshot framed as an oil painting.
Who wouldn't? I mean, seriously, it's a gorgeous-ass shot. And then I love, like, how... I just love how Buck is like, he just walks around the neighborhood. He's taking a literal stroll through this neighborhood.
Yeah,
finds his pool,
strolling.
and he finds a pool to drink out of. And it's kind of interesting how it's like it's drinking from a pool, but he probably doesn't know what chlorine is, because you put chlorine in a pool to keep the water clean, and he's just sticking his tongue all in and he's drinking it. And then there's the dog that gets eaten. Because he pissed it because he annoyed him. The poor thing. I honestly felt sorry.
I've always, as someone who can't stand dogs, ever since I was a kid, I always thought that scene was fucking hilarious.
It kind of is funny because... Oh, and I love the kid. I love that other kid character who is literally every dinosaur fan as a kid. Like, if you see a dinosaur in your backyard, wouldn't you go tell your parents, like, come on, there's a dinosaur in the backyard? Like, I swear to Christ. I love, like, how he's so... Like, you can see how excited he is. And his parents are even funnier because... They start bitching at each other and Daniel, you said you had a fish tank that was a nightlight, right? You said you had that. You said you had something like that.
Yeah, I had a fish. I
had one of those as a kid as well.
And
fish tank
and
mine was bigger.
And I just love like how with the dad especially, the dad's face, he has the best facial expression. Like his look of what the fuck as the Buck has the leash and doghouse hanging out of his mouth, and then he just drops it, and the kid takes a photo of it behind the parents. That whole scene, it may have been filler, but I think it was good filler because it was funny. Like I think that scene was just good. That was just good. And then I love how after Ian and Sarah go rescue the baby from the arena, which kind of was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. Like going Valley of Guanji in San Francisco, in San Diego.
Yeah, that was so random and out of place. Like, what the fuck was that?
Well, remember Peter Lolo was talking about it. Like before John Hammond did the island, he was going to do the arena first before the island.
Yeah,
but then the arena apparently didn't go through, so then John Hammond did the island instead. And I just love Ian Malcolm's... I think Ian Malcolm's best line in this whole movie is, taking dinosaurs off this island is the worst idea in the long, sad history of bad ideas, and I want to be there when you learn that. And then come to find out, he's actually there when Peter Ludlow learns that. So it's like that little point actually came to fruition, and then I just love like I love the security guards when they pull guns on Ian and Sarah, and they're like, "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" And Ian's like, "Taking the kid. You want to stop us?" shoot us. And then they just start, like, I love how Ian's just perfectly reversing. Like, he's perfectly driving backwards. Like, his backwards driving is just perfect for some reason. So it's like, how do we find the adult? Follow the screams. Very next shot cuts to this woman just screaming her head off. Just backs up and hits this other person. He just backs up and hits this other person, and then out comes Buck just like... basically going Godzilla on the on San Diego here. Oh, and speaking of which, I love there's a shot of some Japanese people. And for those who don't know, for those who have seen the movie...
Actually, hold on, before you say anything, I have to point out that even though I know what you're going to say, you're going to say, oh, we escaped Tokyo to get away from this.
That's
right?
what they actually say. They literally say, we came from Japan to get away from this. That's literally what that's what's actually
That's
said.
actually untrue. That's
What?
actually untrue. Yeah.
That's been said for years, that's what they actually said.
You don't hear them say anything. They're just screaming. They don't say anything.
I thought
Yeah,
for years they've been saying that the Asian people are literally saying, like...
Some random fan came up with that, and the franchise bought into it. Yeah.
But I just love how...
I'm telling you, just from, like, I can see you now, you're feeling rather deflated about it. Trust me.
I literally kept hearing that for years, that's what they were actually saying. But
I mean, it would have been awesome. It would have been awesome to have some sort of Godzilla reference, because we do get quite a few King Kong references in this franchise.
I think just seeing the Asian people running away from it is a Godzilla reference. Yeah. Just seeing that. Oh, and
I know exactly where you got this reference from.
What?
What's that?
It's not tech. I know where you're getting this reference from. It's not from this movie. It's actually from the live-action version of Inspector Gadget.
The fuck? Where the hell is Inspector Gadget coming into this?
What?
They actually do that joke in that movie.
They do?
Yep.
Really?
Where does this? Hold on. What?
I think my brain just exploded after hearing Inspector Gadget get mentioned for a
I didn't expect this at all.
I didn't expect this at all either.
Wait, what?
I am so okay. You need to elaborate on this shit.
How you fry the brains of two nerds.
You have literally fried both of our brains by saying. What do you mean, Inspector Gadget? Where are you getting the Inspector Gadget reference?
He got a live-action movie, and
I know he
actually
did,
makes
but
that Godzilla joke.
They actually do a Godzilla joke in the movie?
Yeah, even complete with Japanese people screaming, I went away from Tokyo to get away from this shit!
They actually... Really? Oh, shit. Yep. Well, yeah, you've melted both of our brains with that. We're not kidding, folks.
Actually, no, that makes more sense now. I haven't seen that movie. I know of its existence, but I haven't seen that movie.
I've never
but when
watched
Daniel
it.
it's just when Daniel said something about Inspector Gadget, I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck has that got to do with anything here?
That's what and then after that, I love the fact that the Rex, you can tell how many times Buck has probably smashed his head on shit, because he smashes his whole upper body into a bus with not a problem. Like,
and that bus just dented. It became so dented, it just
Like, I love how...
The T-Rex has one of the biggest skulls in all of history.
That's true, but it's the fact that he just slammed his whole head and upper body into the bus with no problem. Like, damn. Like, I knew the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park were like, stronger than normal, but holy shit. Like, fuck this thing.
You have a skull like that.
But, and then also, then after that, I love the fact that the bus smashes into a Blockbuster, because I remember when Blockbuster was around when I was a kid, and the fact that
they don't really have those.
Yeah, not anymore. They don't. Blockbuster went dead with the invention of Netflix and Redbox. Like, those Blockbuster went out of business. But then here comes James's favorite little kill in this movie is it's the screen before the unlucky bastard scene, and I love that it's the screenwriter David Koepp. The backstory the backstory behind that, I found out, is when it comes to the first movie and test screenings of this, there were critic reviews that said, one critic review said, I can't remember who said it, but it said, this movie series is so monstrous that it gobbles up the people that made it. So Steven Spielberg, being a smartass, literally had David Koepp get eaten because of that critic review. Because of that, Steven Spielberg was being an early troll and literally had somebody that made the movie get gobbled up by the movie. Like, that one critic gave Spielberg the inspiration to do that. Basically, Spielberg giving the finger to critics. Like, knowing that and seeing it, it's so crazy how you just see, like, just David Koepp just get picked up and put behind a car, and there he goes. But I just love how in the credits you just see, like, unlucky bastard. Unlucky bastard. It's so funny how, like, again, a movie being self-aware. A movie being self-aware.
That is the best story I have ever been told in my entire life. He was just trolling the whole time.
He was. It was Steven Spielberg. It was Steven Spielberg being a smartass, and doing it and being a smartass with a dinosaur, I think, is like, that is the best thing you can do to movie critics. I swear to Christ. Like, I would love to see Michael Dougherty do that in a MonsterVerse movie. Like, he would take one of the criticisms of King of the Monsters and do that in a future Godzilla movie. Like, I would love to see Michael Dougherty pull a Spielberg and do the same thing to be a troll to critics.
I want him to come back and do another Godzilla film for MonsterVerse, because King of the Monsters was good. And if you disagree, fuck you.
What did you just do?
Distracted. We're getting off topic there. I was trying to bring the guys back, so sorry about that, guys.
But knowing that it was Steven Spielberg being a smartass. But you know what? I love the gas station scene because I just love that moment where Buck knocks over the giant 76 ball off the Chevron gas station, and Ian and Sarah watch it roll by. Like, there's a dinosaur in front of you, but no, let's watch this giant 76 ball roll past us real quick. Like,
I think everybody else is shocked. Just
See, again, it's the movie being self-aware that it has weird little funny bits in the movie, and it just, like, just roll with it. Which, quite literally, just roll with it. Like, quite literally just roll with it, but, then there's the other funny bit when they go to the docks when they reach the docks towards the end. Oh, and Daniel, you and I were making fun of this when Peter Ludlow was telling the police, the San Diego PD, to shoot Buck. You see, like, all these police cars surround Buck, and then as soon as Buck shows up and roars at him, everyone is like, "Oh, fuck this shit!" Like, they all leave. Like, they all ditch, and there's a shot of an animal control vehicle that runs off that drives away too. They're all like, "Nah, fuck this shit." They're like, "No, I ain't doing this. I want to live."
I imagine they must have been thinking, "Oh, we're not getting paid enough for this shit.
We're not getting paid enough for this." Like, I can just see the animal control guy going, "My thing says animal control, not dinosaur control."
Yeah.
I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see the Rex.
I don't think this counts.
Wait, what? Wait, what'd you say?
The guy in the animal control car says when he sees that thing about, "Nope, I don't think this counts as an animal."
I don't think this counts. Oh, guys, wouldn't it kind of been funny, like, to see one of the Rex step on a police car? Like, wouldn't that kind of been funny if the Rex actually managed to squish one of the police cars when it walks by?
Well, you know me, I can't stand cops at all, so I would have loved to have seen that. I always love seeing cops get killed in movies.
Yeah, what do you call
that brings the question. Could they prosecute it?
Could they prosecute a dinosaur for assaulting an officer? like for assaulting
No,
an
for
officer.
squishing an officer.
Squish the officer. Like, could they prosecute a dinosaur? Oh, and then also another bit of self-awareness in this movie was when, like, the baby was fully awake and it starts screaming again, and Ian and Sarah pull into a warehouse, and as they start running away, Sarah's like, "Where's the Rex? Is it still behind us?" Not even a second later, it's still behind you. Like, not even a second later, here he is. And I love Peter Ludlow's death in this movie. Like, this is the most well-deserved death. This was the most well-deserved death I've ever seen, where he goes down into the Venture's cargo hold, and he tries to corner Junior, right? He tries to corner Junior, but then he doesn't realize that, again, the Buck is solid snaking his way down the stairs into the cargo hold towards him. And then when Peter Ludlow looks up, we're like, oh my god, there's Buck. And I love how he tries to escape, and Buck just picks him up and drops him. And did you notice the look on Buck's face after Junior kills Ludlow? Didn't Buck kind of look at him like, I am so proud? Didn't Buck kind of have that, like...
He's just like, the way he just looks at, like, that Junior bowling Ludlow, just like, that's my boy.
That's so what he had to... That's so what that looks like.
That's my boy.
Like,
that's my boy.
And I do love the fact, though, that Junior was the one that got the kill. Like, Junior got the final kill because
Junior deserved that. Deserved that.
And because of the fact that Ludlow fell on Junior and hurt him, so he's gonna hurt him back. Yeah. Like, that was kind of the point. And then you have, like, the bit where the first part of the ending where you've got a literal military escort following the Venturer going back to Isla Sorna. Like, I thought that was kind of like, okay, one, maybe two ships would be okay, but do you need a battalion? Did they really need that many guards escorting this? I mean, dude, do you really, two ships?
Safety measures, they tend to get a little carried away with that sort of thing.
They really got carried away with it because they only...
You see it in the real world. You see it in the real world all the time. People go a little over the top with protective security measures. So.
That was very over the top because, I mean, yeah, it's a T-Rex, but at the same time, like, only one or two ships would have been needed.
I mean, it's not like Godzilla, even though it did pull off a Godzilla.
It did, yeah. But then I love, like...
And also, you gotta remember one thing about that. You gotta remember something about the security escort. Americans.
Oh. Yeah.
They love to show off their big guns.
Yeah, he ain't wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. As an American, he ain't wrong. I'm not gonna lie. He's not wrong. He is definitely not wrong. But then I love, you guys got to admit, like, the ending, the fact that this ending has John Hammond and the dinosaurs, like, you can just see the. I just love that they
sort of like a
symbolic.
The ending
kind of
sort
thing.
of becomes like a nature documentary.
It does. Like, I love Richard Attenborough's. I love John Hammond's ending speech when he says, these animals require our absence to survive, not our help. Like, they don't.
And I think that exact saying, goes for every single real world animal out there.
That's
not
true.
Real world animal.
I do fully agree with that. But then,
I mean, not real life animals. I mean, because dinosaurs were real. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like modern animals. Well, modern animals.
You know what I mean. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that exact same should go for every single animal out there. Without our interference, I think every other animal, even ones that are highly endangered, they'd be just fine without us. Without us interfering all the time.
Because put it this way, like, animals can just walk into, I mean, I know this is a very stupid simplification, but an animal can just walk into an area and then figure out how to survive in it. Like,
technically we too, we just forgotten how.
Exactly, like, animals have it a little more a little more simple, and we'd have it just like a little more simpler.
Well, domestic.
Really.
Well, actually, domestic animals don't, because that instinctive side of them has sort of been taken away from too much.
Yeah. It's been diluted
from too much of humankind's meddling with their DNA.
But
and they meddle with it so much that they've taken away their wild side, I guess you could say.
But I just love the fact, though, how the ending to this movie... I love, and you guys know this, I love endings with no people. Like, I love scenes in these movies that have no people in them, and this ending...
Yeah.
I adore the shit out of it, because you've got the Rexes, and then you've got the Stegosaurus herd just casually walking by the Rexes, just casually... standing 20 feet away from something that can eat them right there on the spot. But no, there's the whole herd just walking by. And then you have a Pteranodon, which is landing in a tree, which is the most scientifically accurate-looking Pteranodon I've ever seen in this franchise. Like, seriously, that Pteranodon looks... Honestly, I like that better than the future ones, to be honest with you, because that's what a Pteranodon looks like. Like, that Pteranodon is the more...
I do like that design because it has. I like the little bluish coloured patches around the eyes.
Yeah, I love
this is like the only design. This is like the only time we see this design, and then the other ones just keep changing.
They do, yeah. And well, actually, when we reviewed Jurassic Park 3, there's actually the Sorna theory. There's a Sorna theory that I'm going to bring up when we do that movie when it comes to how Isla Sorna looks. But yeah,
next week, folks.
Yeah, but yeah,
coming soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
very soon. Hopefully sooner than later.
Exactly. So, anything else you guys want to like say about this movie? Because this was a sequel that it doesn't deserve all the dislike that it got. Because when this movie came out, it was hated. It was hated by it was panned when this movie came out. Like back then, it was absolutely disliked.
You know what? Despite its flaws, like it's a very solid follow-up to the original Jurassic Park. But is it perfect? Hell no, absolutely not. But with it has a lot of great aspects in it that
make it watchable,
overlooked,
or make
that
it
are either they are dismissed or overlooked. And plus, it still has that Spielberg touch to it, so...
Exactly. Like, Steven Spielberg...
Which all the other sequels in Jurassic Park 3 and the Jurassic World trilogy, none of them have any of that. And, if the Lost World Jurassic Park, I think if it had much better writing and a much better pacing to it, it could have been just as good as Jurassic Park. But for what it is, I think it's a very underrated film, and it's my personal favourite sequel in the Jurassic franchise. So, I am going to give it 9 out of 10.
I definitely give this movie... Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go first, Daniel. I'll go last on the score.
Oh, sorry, Daniel. Sorry about that.
I say this movie is good, and it shouldn't stop there. It shouldn't... I mean, it would be a perfect ending to the Jurassic Park franchise. No more sequels, prequels, yada yada. Stop at second one, but we didn't need more. But as we all know, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And yes, we'll come to those movies in a while, hopefully.
Yeah.
But you know how it is with life. And as for my rating on this movie, I say 7.5. That's because there's only three. I only have three perfect 10s in my entire movie category. So, but that's me.
For me, I give this movie a solid like 9 out of 10. Like, yeah, there's parts in here that like James was saying, it is flawed, but at the same time though, it's the extreme amount of self-awareness and the more darker tone and the more use of the dinosaurs being more utilized and the characters being just as interesting as the first movie. It's just an overall fun sequel. Like, Spielberg knew he couldn't top the first movie. He knew he couldn't do it, so he just made a sequel that is just fun. Like, he just made a fun, darker sequel. Like, that's just how this movie is. It's darker in tone, and it's fun. And funny. Like, I don't know why. I know it's not a comedy, but I pointed out in this review how many times this movie makes a joke. It makes a joke that probably wasn't supposed to be one in the first place, but when you look at it, it kind of is. Like, it kind of is a joke. So yeah, definitely 9 out of 10 for me. And folks, it's like James was saying a little bit ago during our technical, it was he's giving me that during our glitches.
The look. Sideways look.
Yeah, when it comes to that, James was saying it was very satisfying.
No, raise my eyebrows.
Yeah, it was very satisfying doing this review because, like we were saying, we've tried, because we were talking about this actually off camera before we started this, that we've been trying to do this review, and now we finally get to do it, and it was really fun doing this because Jurassic Park, I mean, it's just a really good dinosaur movie, and there was like a shitload of shit to talk about with this movie.
Yeah.
So
a shitload of shit.
And a lot of bullshit.
A lot of bullshit, yeah. It's fun. It's fun bullshit, but it's a lot of fun bullshit, but still. But it was very satisfying doing this review because we haven't done one in like 2 weeks. We've been trying to do this for a literal like month. We've been trying to plan this review for a while, and now we got to do it. And we hope y'all enjoyed how extremely long this is, because it's probably going to be like 2 hours. It's probably going to be like a long act. It's probably our longest review we've ever done.
2 hours plus. 2 hours plus.
Yeah,
probably longer. This review will most likely be longer than the movie itself. So
exactly,
brace yourselves.
and also it's just that's how you can tell how much we love this, how much we just love this movie, because it's Jurassic fucking Park. So yeah, we hope y'all enjoyed this. Please be sure to, well, first off, please go support Dude Meister on his Instagram and his DeviantArt Exolia. Did I say it right?
Basically, yeah. I never follow up pronouncing it, so yeah.
Yeah, the link to that will be in the description. The link to both of those will be in the description below. And then go support my buddy Jurassic World Monsterverse 2. His Instagram is in the description below. And then come follow me at my Instagram at Megalania2023, and also my DeviantArt Dimetrosaur 2022. The link to both of those are up on my banner. They're on the bottom right corner of the banner. And also, please be sure to like, share, and please consider subscribing, because the amount of support that you guys give this series, gives us more like confidence to like keep making this content. Because,
yeah, it gives us a lot more motivation and encouragement, and that's what we all really need from you guys. So
yeah,
keep doing that, keep spreading the word, and love you all. And actually, why am I taking over the
ending?
I'm doing it again.
Yeah,
I'm doing it again.
No, what do you call it's like my bro was saying here. You know, this series is something that we are definitely going to keep going, because James has, put it this way, I said this at the end of another video of this, where we have some really large amount of shit planned this year, and James is already planning our shit for next year, so...
Oh, and by the way, guys, before we close off anything, I just want to announce with you, and of course with my boys here, after we get the final review for Carnosaur out, and after we do several more follow-ups for Juraculi, or whatever we're calling what was supposed to be Jurassic June.
Yeah.
So Paleophiles will be taking a little break because, well, not really a break, but, well, Tim will be doing his Asylum reviews in between what we're going to be doing, which I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, please
which
watch
I'm not
out
going to tell you because it's a surprise.
Yeah, so please watch my new series. I just started it. At the time this video is being made, the second episode of Asylum Reviews is going to be uploaded today, because it's Saturday at the time this is being recorded here. So please be sure to watch those as well. I'll have a playlist being made for that in between. So yeah, please come watch Asylum reviews. And yeah, and then also, James, if anybody, any of those lucky ones who are able to go to the Jurassic World exhibition, that Jurassic World event, please watch out while this event's going on, our reviews for the Jurassic World movies, because what better time to review those movies while the event's going on? You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, the timing couldn't be more freaking perfect here. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that we have got planned and we're planning and all kinds of more. Put it this way, we have so much shit planned. It's like a serious video overload here, so please be sure to watch out for all of that.
Guys, by the time, like, from when until, like, Draculae or whatever we're calling what was supposed to be June is over. So keep in mind that, like, even though I'm not going to tell you what movies they are, you can guess if you want, but I'm not going to tell you. From September all the way to November, Paleo Files will be taking a short break because me, Tim, and Daniel will be reviewing almost 50 movies. So
yeah, we got a really huge list. We have a major list that we're going to be getting to.
We're not going to post them until the timing is right.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a huge list planned that we're going to be working on. So please.
Oh, it's not 50. It'd be 40. It'd be about 40 movies. I don't know. I'll have to count them.
Yeah, but yeah, please.
It'll be about 40-ish.
40-ish movies. So yeah. So we will see
45.
you all.
Let's just say 45. Meet in the middle would say 45.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
this is Tim W. Rago, aka Megalania 2023, and
Jurassic World Monsterverse 2. Have a good one, folks. Love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.
and then.
And Dude Meister, aka Exolia.
All right.
Peace out, nerds.
Peace out, everybody.
See you, geeks.